Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Today is a beautiful day. It is Umzansi Esports League Season 3 brought to you by Nordwing Gamings. My name is Dr. Sid, and I'm here with two amazing guys, Sean, aka Snare, and my man, Dendo, who plays is Dendo Plays. Hi guys, how you guys doing today?
Oh, we good, fam. We good. It's an exciting day. Like you say, season 3. I'm just hyped for more FIFA. So give me more.
Now,
Plug it in my face.
listen. Yesterday we had an amazing showing of gameplay between two amazing talents when it comes to FIFA. Today is looking like it's going to be lit. Expecting more exciting gameplay today. Two games back to back. We're going to be taking a look at the leaderboards and helping you understand what's going on. But first, let's remind everyone what is happening and what is at stake at the Umzansi Season 3. This is the prize pool for this season. And as we can see, the Season 3 prize pool is $17,500, with the prize pool for PUBG being $15,000 and the prize pool for FIFA players being $2,500. That is a lot of money to play for, and that's why the players today need to bring their A game. Today, I want to ask you very quickly before we move on, your impression of yesterday's games and what we should expect from today.
So yesterday we saw a lot of people feeling each other out between Young Savage and Unfazed. It became explosive as time went on, but I don't think we'll be getting that today. Deevak, one of the players that we have today, he has been known to just be very consistent, so he'll be attacking from the jump. And we do have some new blood, some new talent. And based on what we saw from Young Savage yesterday, if that's the level we can expect from the new competitors, I'm very excited to see what DarthMayhem's got to bring to the table today as well.
So I mean, I would venture to let's show the players the list of players who will be competing in Umzansi Season Esports League Season 3's FIFA tournament, and then we can take a look at our matchup for today. Dando, what do you think about the players on the list?
Yeah, I mean, also, just a quick shout out to say this is my first time coming in on the Umzansi Esports League. So thank you, Nodwin, for including me onto the talent lineup, and I'm excited. This is my first time casting FIFA and looking over FIFA. And I mean, I keep in touch with the scene just a tiny, young little bit, you know what I'm talking about. So I was watching yesterday's stream and I did check out the game between Unfazed and Young Savage. And it was a pretty interesting game, a little bit of a back and forth. I think the second match, Unfazed really tied things down and held things down. But yeah, some of the players that I know personally that I'm keen to, cast over, check a little bit of their gameplay is the likes of the Beast, Mansoon as well. I've been checking out their Twitters here and there, seeing what they can do. I know that the Beast previously was in the Bafana team and is actually playing a friendly soon. So that's pretty exciting. So I'm ready to see some FIFA action. FIFA also one of those games that goes way, way back with me and my family. So it's a little bit exciting to be
That's awesome. I personally play a lot of FIFA myself, and now we're taking a look at the two players who are going to be throwing it down today. It is Deevak and DarthMayhem. And Snare, I know you have a lot of info on these players. Tell us what to expect from this particular matchup.
Like I was mentioning earlier, Deevak, known for his consistency, plays a very similar game throughout it. And the entire time, he's always very good at making sure he's in possession and driving the ball towards the other side of the half to score these goals. DarthMayhem, one of these players that has also sort of exploded onto the scene in a very similar fashion to Young Savage, known for scoring a ton of goals, lots of trickery, not necessarily having his mettle tested against the upper echelons of the FIFA world thus far, but Deevak is going to represent one of these big ones. If you want to be able to hang here in the upper division of Umzansi Season 3, you're going to have to be able to take on the Deevaks of the world. So I think DarthMayhem, the big challenge for him is whether or not he can maintain his composure, stay calm, and not allow himself to get sucked into the pace that Deevak can bring to the game, which tends to be extremely destructive.
So basically, I want to ask them, because I know you were watching yesterday's stream, and what we saw was the players were very, very cagey in the first match, sort of studying each other, trying to feel each other out, and then the second game was quite explosive. And yesterday, I know, Snell, we were talking about trying to discover, do we feel that it's a good idea to hold out in the first game and then explode in the second game, or do you go at your opponent in the first match and sort of set the tone for what the second game is going to be? Snell, what are your thoughts on either attacking or playing safe? What would you do if you were in this situation?
I think it depends on what the situation is, right? if you're in the context of playing as an underdog, then you're probably better off trying to just wait and try to figure out the opponent first. Because if you're the underdog and you try become explosive quickly, one of two things can happen that might be bad for you. Either you get out and then suddenly all those tactics don't really work for you going forward in the matchup, or worse yet, you make a mistake. Then after you make that mistake, it saps all the momentum out of you and you have no way to come back easily into the game. So I think if you're the underdog, you should be being a bit more patient, figure out exactly what to do. But if you're favored, you have nothing to lose, right? Especially if you're the Deevaks of this world, with all the experience of playing these high pressure environments. If you're him, you can lose the first game 2-0 and still be able to come back in the second leg and win things out from there. So I think it just does depend on that particular context. If you're favored or not should dictate if you play safe or not.
So that basically, like someone like me now should be ready to just chill and go ham.
You
I don't
should
know.
play with
because
11 defenders.
I personally got really frustrated with FIFA. I don't know. I tried. My ultimate team is really terrible this year. And I hope to learn from these guys as I watch. I'm getting reports now that we are live and ready to go into our first match. So I'm going to be leaving our amazing audience in the very capable hand of Tendo and Snare. And as they talk us through the play-by-play in this first game today at the Umzansi Esports League Season 3. This is FIFA 21. See you guys after the first match.
Let's go. Nintendo. Since this is Ultimate Team, what players are you expecting to see? A lot of changes have been happening with Umzansi as a whole, so it's not just straight up teams. So I think the player selection has a massive impact on the style of game that gets played out generally. So what do you think we're going to be seeing here player-wise? I see Danny Olmo, I see Neymar. Every game should have Neymar, right?
Yeah, I think Neymar is such an explosive player in general, and once you've mastered and utilized him quite well, you can really, make some great plays and really, open up the pitch and really open up the defense. So, good to see Deevak using a little bit of Neymar. He's gonna pass the ball down quite nicely over here, and he's gonna be running things down the line, passes it back towards the inside, just trying to open up the defense. Does find a little bit of an opening here, takes the shot, but the clearing is good from Darth, and it goes out for a goal.
That was fairly close. That could have gone in, but fortunately does manage to keep the game alive, stay safe. He's still on possession of the ball though. With Mbappe looking for these dribbles. Can he reach in for a goal? Essien in the middle of the pitch, gets it down to Neymar. There's a little bit of space here. He gets through, gets the shot, hits the pole. Oh my gosh, how unlucky is that?
Yeah, that's just a little bit unfortunate. He's really good with the ball retention in that situation. After the throw-in, manages to open up the shot. Just isn't able to connect it quite well, but he's going to be able to reset things back, and he's already on the attack over here. So now Deevak trying to open up the defense, but Darth is holding things down just a tiny little bit better than what the attack is putting up. But for now, the retention on the ball is looking good. Neymar's pushing in here. The moves are clean, and the shot comes through. And it's a goal to open things up in the 10th minute. Neymar gets the goal. Deevak takes the first blood.
Man, that step over, double step over deep into the middle of the box. Gets the sideways dribble, gets the goal. And this is really bad because we were talking about this just now. If you're playing as Deevak and you're favored, this means that more of these might come. Darth is supposed to be the one that's trying to figure out what Deevak is doing, but he's immediately getting sucked into this pace. In this first game, looking incredibly dangerous for him. Now the question is, how do you respond to this? Do you think he's going to go balls to the walls? And I think the big issue though is that he's struggling to maintain possession, and as I say that, getting dispossessed again here, Tendo.
Yeah, and I mean, it's in that situation where you get an early goal in and you just have to reset mentally, I think, right now. So for Darth, he needs to still look at it as the scoreline being 0-0, and he needs to just try push the ball forward. But you see things like this, just allowing Deevak to just control the ball in this, upper third of the field is really going to make him struggle throughout the game, and it's going to put a lot of pressure on him. So it's looking good so far with this attack, but no, the midfield is just looking too clean over here from Deevak. So he's going to push the ball forward over here, and now it's Mbappe. You have Mbappe and Neymar on opposite ends here. It's going to be very difficult to defend, I think, yes.
Let's see if he can make it. Varane does get a touch on the ball, keeping it out, but Neymar with a lot of space, looking for a similar dribble. Can he find the space to get the shot off? Yes. Flag into the top left corner. Gets himself the brace. Puts Deevak 2-0 up. And making it seem like DarthMayhem is not even a challenge here, because in game 1 he is dominant. And I think this might be the first time right now where we saw the ball being touched that we've actually seen the ball go even a meter over the halfway line. It's been all traffic in one way.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of the game is also just been playing in Darth's, half over here. So he needs to relieve some of the pressure on the defense right now, because they're really struggling here. And the run now from Deevak's going to be down the line on the wings, and pass it back into the center of the pitch. Control things down with Mbappe. He passes it down to Neymar. Neymar comes in for the hat-trick. At this point, Deevak is just running through the game. He's got such good, control, and he knows exactly where and how to predict what plays are going to be made by the defense here of Darth, I think.
Yeah, definitely. He seems to just have cracked it. He gets through it like a hot knife through butter. Gets himself the hat-trick. These roulettes from Neymar have been pretty much impossible for DarthMayhem to deal with so far. And it doesn't seem like this pressure is stopping. And what terrifies me, Attendo, is the fact that this is all happening with Neymar and Mbappe. You still have Danny Olmo to deal with. You still have Atal to deal with. There is a lot of attacking prowess that can still be unlocked further for Deevak. And he's already doing so well. And, it might have been a good time to get the ball forward, but unfortunately that's hella offside.
Yeah, hella offside is definitely the way to describe that one. The ball now being played with the defense here. Deevak gonna open things up in the center. He's gonna run it down with Neymar. And I mean, it's just been a Neymar show at this point. He's just running things. He's dribbling through everybody. The retention right now is just insane on Deevak as he just tries to open up more of the defense. I feel that Darth is starting to understand a little bit of how he's playing, but he's still just making a few mistakes with the defense here. But he's trying to clean things up, and you can definitely see this as they go for the counter attack.
Yeah, this might be a sign of life. Got the ball to Ronaldo. Does get dispossessed, but like you say, he's immediately been able to do a lot better than what was previously happening. He's marshaled his defense, moving up the line, and he's not doing the thing of trying to rush onto the ball. He's intercepting the passing lanes, making life a bit more difficult for Deevak. Prevented a fourth goal, but might not prevent it forever as Neymar back in possession. The corner exploited once more. Fourth goal. Neymar on fire, Deevak on fire. DarthMayhem, that pass, as I was just talking about him intercepting passing lines, honestly, look, that pass made his defenders look like they were standing still. 4 goals. What do you do now, Tendo?
Yeah, I mean, it's also the 36th minute in the game, and when you're 4 goals down like this, it's you just have to give it your all at this point. And I think Darth just needs to play his guns over here, and we haven't really seen any passing plays come to fruition for him up until now, maybe, where he's able to pass things down to Cantana, and he takes the shot on, but the keeper moves off the line, manages to clear that one up to the top of the pitch over here. It is going to get stopped right on the touchline by Cancelo, moving it forward here. It's a little bit better in terms of attack-wise for Darth. He's getting it up towards the goalkeeper. He was able to get that shot, but it's still not enough to pull back from a 4-0 deficit, I think, yes. Now, I think we need to see something from the defense. I think the defense is just a bit asleep at this point.
Danny Olmo on the ball now for Deevak. Looking to try and make this a 5th goal in the first half still of a 2-leg series. Running deep onto the touchline, going very far forward. Mendy, we've seen him be the go-to option for most of the teams in the defense, and finally does come good. Unfortunately, up until this point, it has been a very difficult game for him, but it still gets prevented from being fun. The difficulty, though, is how hard it is to drive onto the other side of the pitch, because as soon as you touch the ball, instantly, Deevak crowds you out, and worse than just crowding you out, instantly sets up a counter-attack with this Tendo.
Yeah, and the counter-attack is on now with Olmo on the wing. Not able to get into the 18-yard box over there. The defense is going to stop him. And that's going to be the halftime. And, I mean, you're Darth right now. You're looking at the halftime score. It's 4-0. And you just have to, I think, mentally reset, come back into this next half and almost treat it as a second game, I think, yes, because you got to look at it like this, right? If Deevak is able to score 4 goals, surely I can as well. And I think that's just the mentality he needs to come in here with. He just needs to reset the defense, reset the attack as well, and just try to control things down in the middle field a little bit better.
And more so than that, right? Even if he does end up losing the game, mentally he must also feel like it's a 2 legs, if I can lose this one, I can still win the next one and walk away with an overall draw. Eventually, the goal difference stops mattering to you, and it's just about getting what you can. So if he can learn more from this, then even if he doesn't manage to succeed in scoring those 4 goals, as long as he can prevent Deevak from doing this again, he can still be good in the long run. And now we get back into it. So leg number 1, half number 2, Tendo. He's finally doing it. Mbappe with a deep run here for DarthMayhem. Is this going to be an opportunity? Ronaldo back in the ball. Atal inside the box right now, looking for a way to drive forward, but muscled off the ball. Deevak will not fall for it. Although it's a nice change of pace here from DarthMayhem to make that happen.
Yeah, very nice change of pace. But the pace on the opposite side hasn't changed up just a little bit yet because the attack is still on here. The shot, the turn there was just absolutely insane. Neymar up to 5 goals at this point, and he just seems unstoppable as soon as he's in front of the goal over here. I don't know what Darth is gonna have to do to pull this one back. He needs to somehow shut Neymar down, try to utilize the defense a little bit better, try intercept some of the balls a little bit better as well. He maybe needs to just try something different at this point. But yeah, the attack is on here. He's gonna be able to play down the wing. But yeah, the defense is also just so great, I think, from Deevak. You just can't get through it. It's like a brick wall.
I mean, you were mentioning earlier about how DarthMayhem was starting to adapt to the attacking patterns from Deevak. Unfortunately, Deevak from the jump seems to have perfect understanding of the attacking patterns from DarthMayhem. Now mounting another attack of his own, looking for goal number 6. But Atal takes the shot, ricochets off the keeper, out for a corner kick. So he still has an opportunity to get a goal, but it's not 6 just yet. Neymar wasn't the one on the ball, so it wasn't a guaranteed goal. Mbappe trying to get it to him. This time around, though, DarthMayhem, whew, we're still at 5. 6 is awful. Not like 5 is amazing, but mentally 6 is just terrible to deal with.
Yeah, 6 is definitely terrible. I mean, look, any deficit is terrible to deal with. So at this point, you just gotta give it what you can. But right now, it's looking really good over here. And he does take the shot on. And he brings it back by 1 goal here. So is this a comeback story maybe to happen here? As it does seem like Darth is exploding to life down here in the center of the pitch. He's trying to play the ball forward. Yeah, finds a good through ball in over here to Mbappe. But it's not going to be good enough here. Deevak's able to snuff that one out. So he's going to be able to push the ball forward now onto the wings. And we know who's on those wings. And we know who's dangerous as he plays it forward.
Yep. The danger man himself gets the ball. Neymar in possession. Recycles it back onto Dani Olmo. Trying to find some way into the middle of the box, but doesn't fall for the roulette just yet. At the same time, though, it doesn't manage to get back the full possession. Young Savage, crucial tackle there with Mendy. This might be a chance for attack. Neymar getting the ball to Atal. The goal scorer, unfortunately, cannot find enough space to keep running. I think that goal, if nothing else, in terms of the internal confidence that it's going to give DarthMayhem going into the second game, it's needed, right? Because if he goes into that second game with a clean sheet, it's mentally very crushing, but now he knows he can actually score against Deevak. The only challenge is being able to do it more so than Deevak is scoring against him. And thus far, in his second half, it's technically even. It's only 1-1. If he just resets, like you were saying, in terms of it thinking just that it's just 1 game effectively from this half, under those circumstances, then he's not doing so badly.
Yeah, he's not doing so badly. He's making a couple of good passes down the middle of the pitch as well, but I think the defense in the mid here from Deevak has just been so superb. And now it's Neymar once again running things down into the 18-yard box, finds the pass onto the wing here. He's gonna play it back to Neymar. So Deevak just taking things slowly, not really trying to force the attack too much here. Luckily for Darth, he's able to snuff it out, manages to get the defense in line. And he's going to be able to throw this one in and play this one for an attack of his own. Almost loses the ball out there, but he's... Oh, as soon as I say that, he does lose the ball. Yeah, it's a little bit messy.
He's fine. He's fine. He's fine. He's fine. He's got this. He's got this. If he gets 1 more goal, I think he's fine for game 2.
Oh, he does.
Will he find this? Yes.
He does do it.
Oh! Smooth pass. Tip-tapping like he's Barcelona 06. Out here with the goal from Neymar. Beautifully done. It is 5-2. And Tendo, you said he has to mentally think about the second half as if it's an entirely new game. In this entirely new game, he's currently up 2-1.
Yeah, and that's just how you have to do it. And now, look, he's on another attack here, but he isn't really able to capitalize that as the defense is able to just stop that and put it at a halt. But as soon as that happens, he does manage to get an interception. So now he's starting to read the game a little bit better here, I feel, Darth. So I'm a little bit confident for him moving into the second leg because I feel like he's starting to understand the playstyle of Deevak. But obviously, Deevak's still sticking to his guns, knowing what he can do. But I mean, right there, one Cancelo, right position, right timings, working over there for Darth, managing to just close things down. So right now, like you said, it's 2-1 to him in the half. He's doing well to keep it, but look at this. There's a cross coming in. He passes it as well. He's playing it down. Now it's Neymar once again. Passes it back to the center, and the goal comes in almost out of mayhem and havoc. And Deevak just capitalizes off that kind of gameplay and manages to find 6 in this one.
It really did seem like he was going to be kept at bay by DarthMayhem. But after all that time, Daniel were able to break through there. Neymar did a lion's share of the work, but gets the key pass in to allow for the easy goal. Defenders will run completely ragged at that point. And now it is 6-2. To make matters worse, in the crucial second half, for the mentality of DarthMayhem, it is 2-2 now, and it might actually be 3 as Atal able to get past the last man on the line. Vieira not in correct position, and now, no! Tries to lob it over with the goal, not able to do so. Still in possession though. This ball somehow hasn't left the box. But, DarthMayhem, okay. He pounces on top of it. He does keep the game going.
Oof, that play was... it had my heart sinking. Is a 7th goal would just be so detrimental. I mean, you start to talk about things like Brazil in the World Cup at that point, but he's holding things down. He's holding things down for now. 6-2. It's actually a penalty going into his favor here. So Ronaldo up to the ball. So he has a chance to capitalize off this, and he does. So goal difference wise, he's pulling it back, you know. So he's making this work. Going in for the second leg, it's not too bad. I mean, if you think about it, right, Snare, when we started it off, wasn't it like almost like what, 5-0, and he's pulled it back to 6-3. So just 3 goals down right now isn't as bad as if it was going to be 5 goals. So he's working things well here, but once again, it does look like Deevak is on the attack, but that's going to be the game there, ending as a 6-3 to Deevak.
6-3, 3-goal difference between the two players, but an extremely close game. At the beginning, if you just watch these two halves in isolation, you would definitely say that DarthMayhem has evolved entirely, right? Between half 1 and half 2. In half 1, there was domination, like you said, 4-0 against them. But in the second one, he adapted, he started changing things up. He's the one that started playing more aggressively, gets himself 3 goals in that half. And sure, he still has some more goals conceded against them, but like you're mentioning, the fact that he now knows that this is possible, right? He's made Deevak bleed. He's adapted more to the play. And he managed to hold it. This could have been more, could have been 7, could have been 8, honestly. But the fact that he was able to change up the play style defensively in important positions to make sure that he holds the game, I think very important and gives us hope for the second leg here.
Yeah, definitely. It does give us hope. And honestly, moving into the second leg, I think Darth just needs to sit back and just reevaluate, I think, his defense. I think the biggest weakness for him was his defense and also just not being able to really capitalize off the middle field play and, you know, just passing the ball forward towards the attackers, towards the wings to create opportunities. Like we saw Deevak doing with Neymar, with Mbappe. We need to see, you know, Darth doing a little bit more. And it's obviously evident that he can do that, seeing that he was able to pull it back to the scoreline. So moving into this next leg, I think he just needs to mentally reset. And now that he's felt out Deevak a little bit, I think he knows what to expect and how to play it. So I'm sure he will have a different game plan moving into this one.
Do you think he's going to change up anything in terms of his formation with how he was actually set up on the pitch? Or do you think that the changes are going to be entirely mental coming in from him?
Yeah, I mean, it's like what your first game as well of the season, so it's not really like, okay, look, it's not working, let me change my formation right away. You still gotta work with what you prepared with and see if that works. And if that doesn't work, then maybe after this game you're like, okay, if this game goes down like this, maybe I need to change something. But for now, I think he's fine. Let's see how things go as the next game is already started.
As we go into it, game number 2 here. Victory for Deevak already in the cards. He wants to try and reach for more now, but it does seem that these adjustments have been made. Although the issue that Deevak, like you mentioned, got to stick to his guns in the... He is a player who has high adaptability himself as well, so if need be, he can change up his playstyle on a dime. It doesn't been necessary, although so far he hasn't found that much success with these passes, but as I say that, ooh, Daniel Olmo can't get the goal.
Yeah, and we'll see how well this time Deevak, utilizes his attackers, because, like I said, I feel Darth might be able to read the game a little bit better here, and so far, so good from him. A little bit more attacks than what we saw in the beginning of that first half in the first leg. So he's pushing the ball forward quite well. Doesn't manage to find the through ball in here. So now Ronaldo with some fancy footwork, not able to really capitalize off that. Defense is good on the side of Deevak. Going to be able to clear that down the line. So now it's Lazaro passing it down to the center of the pitch. He's going to play it forward.
Going to be a dangerous run though. He's the interplay between himself and Neymar, trying to get it deep up into the final third. Unfortunately for him, João Cancelo right in front of Daniel Olmo. That's the aspect where we really have seen DarthMayhem adapt the most. With João Cancelo, he's been positioned in front of Daniel Olmo the entire time, except for that one goal that happened in the second half. Since the half started, he has been able to keep up that pressure and not allow attacks to come in from that side of the pitch. Unfortunately for him though, there are many sides of the pitch that attacks can come in from. And now Neymar back in the box, looking for the goal to open up the second game. Mbappe in possession. Can he find the dribbles? Blocked off. And Vieira getting back on it, but Daniel Olmo retains his possession. Still looking for a way into the box here. Attendo, DarthMayhem, he's adapted. He's not going to be leaky this game, it doesn't seem.
Yeah, and it seems like he's closed the tap just a tiny little bit right now, and the defense is looking good. I mean, it looked a little bit shaky towards, the later stages of that attack, but he held things down quite well, and I think that's just something he's improved on from the previous matchup in the last game. So right now we're sitting 20 minutes in, still 0-0, so it's a very much better showing. But now there's Mbappe with the cross in!
Ooh, my
and he
gosh.
takes it on the volley into the goal.
What?
Shoots past the keeper. Keeper just forgot his glasses at home there, couldn't do anything about it. And yeah, I mean, opening goal, yeah, it's a little bit bittersweet, I think, after how well we saw Darth starting, in the beginning. But I mean, we'll see how he can pull this one back.
Yeah, it's now 7 goals in aggregate for Deevak. Super far ahead at this point in time. The positioning from Atal to get right in front of the defender to take it on the volley. Keeper could have done better, but ultimately it's Deevak who's doing the best right now of what he has. And he might get counted upon. Renato Sanchez in possession on the other side of the park. So difficult. Look how quickly Deevak sets up with his defense to make it just harder and harder. Not necessarily for you to keep, but for you to do anything with the ball. And when you eventually try to pass, you effectively just end up passing to Deevak's players.
Yeah, and straight after that, his attack is and midfield is already ready to, make a play off of it. And they've opened things up so perfectly down the middle. The shot comes in, just not enough power to get past the keeper. He reads that one well. So now we're going to have Darth on the attack. And he's trying to play things on the wing here. He finds a pass down, but the defense is too good from Deevak. He's unable to penetrate. But now the counter-attack is on. Essien with the ball, passing it down. Neymar, the danger man. The story of a lost matchup. Loses it.
Oof. Besides that one goal that happened, I mean, even consider the goal that happened. Very different from all the goals we've seen being scored by Deevak so far. He had to adapt his playstyle to make that one go in. So it does seem like Mr. Mayhem here will feel not too hard done by this game. But see that Atal back in possession again. Launces it across the net. How did that happen? Jeez, once again, just out of nowhere. It's 2-0 up now.
Yeah, I mean, the time finishes on Deevak are just superb, I think. He knows just when to hit it, and when he hits it, it goes in pretty much every single time you see it. And I think Darth right now just needs to break the goal difference deficit at this point and just try to score as much as he can. He hasn't found anything so far in this first half, and the dribbling as well, it just makes the defense so haphazard. And there's nothing you can really do about it, because if you shoot off the line, you might force a penalty, or you just might open it up and, you know, give a clear shot in. So it's really tough right now for Darth to just, you know, be absorbing all this pressure. But on top of that, he's down by so many goals.
Make matters worse, that one deep dribble was being done by a defender by Deevak, so he's kind of styling on the opponent here. Although now might be the chance. Unfortunately, there is no chance. Even when you have these hyper-pacey players like Mbappe's, your Neymar's, your Ronaldo's, Deevak seems to be playing 2-3 steps ahead. Somehow his players just have more pace, and immediately back on the ball again, looking for the third goal here in half. At least being held at bay from this. Right now, DarthMayhem will at least be saying to himself, you know what? He scored 4 goals against me the first half, leg 1. This time it's only 2. We are definitely improving. Things are getting better.
Yeah, definitely things are getting better, I think. And yeah, things are getting better, but how much longer can you keep getting better if you're still, you know, conceding to some extent? So we go into the halftime. Will we see any changes coming in from the players? I wonder. I feel like Deevak is pretty comfortable with how his team is set up, so I don't think we're going to see any changes for him. I wonder if Darth is going to maybe mix up a couple of players, push them up and down, you know, see who he might be able to bring in, some fresh legs, maybe a little bit of magic that he needs in this moment to just, you know, try bring it back.
And that's something else that now that you bring it up in terms of magic and freshness, something that does contrast Ultimate Team towards regular play is that in Ultimate Team, because you're the one that's setting up the squad, you don't always have the same depth in your bench that you would have otherwise. Your top 11 is your top 11 for a very good reason. So there's nobody that you can easily replace and get similar levels of quality out of. So we'll have to rely on this setup. Daniel Olmo, very nice slide tackle. What? Keeps it in play? Okay. Will this turn into a goal now? Dribbling on the far side. Atal back in possession, and on first touch, set up for the volley. Volleys it himself. Third goal. So game 1, it's Neymar with the danger. This time around, Atal secures and almost certainly secures the entire series.
I mean, at this point, you just playing for the consolations, I think, you know. And I mean, you got to commend Deevak with how good he is with his finishes. I mean, it's almost superb. It's almost like 100% of the time. If you see one of his players running all on, be it Mbappe, be it Atal, be it, you know, Neymar, he's going to get it in at this point. But yeah, the ball just is struggling to get towards that goalpost right now for Darth. You know, he's just not able to push it forward the same way that we see in Deevak, and here he is again on the attack, and the defense is able to pull back. The line held, gonna stop things for a little bit, but it's Atal, and he manages to recover.
Might only be just for a moment. Like you mentioned, every time he gets the ball himself, the closer he gets towards the goals of Deevak, the harder it seems for the ball to stick to his feet. This time around, there might be an opportunity. Atal finds some space. Cool, Atal finds the shot. He does! But Manuel Neuer, there with the save, keeps the top right corner blocked off and denies the goal here. But DarthMayhem may end up going with 0 goals here in the second leg.
Yeah, and that's going to be a little bit heartbreaking if it does end with a 0 goal. Because if you're able to score in the last game, you're going to beat yourself up a little bit, thinking that why couldn't I score in the second one, you know? So we'll see how things go. And he's able to push it forward towards the box, but yeah, the defense is just a little bit too strong there. They close him out so perfectly, so well timed. Now passing it onto the wing here. Deevak really looking to be a menace at this point if he isn't one already.
That should draw a foul. Yeah, referee stops the play. Free kick towards Deevak. This allows him to effectively reset the game. Now look for the 4th. Neymar on possession, gets his 4th onto Mbappe. There is a block, but it still is in possession right now for Deevak. Things are looking quite dangerous. Daniel Olmo, his signature forward run onto the touchline, gets it back in onto Neymar. Neymar with some space. Can Neymar find the turn to get off the shot? No, he cannot. Rafael Varane with Renato Sanchez are able to crowd him out, and they keep this game going. Although it's pretty much over in our minds, at the very least, he hasn't conceded 10 total goals in total. Not conceding 10. That's the new benchmark. That's what we need right now.
Yeah, let's make sure he doesn't get that one in. But as it stands, it doesn't seem like Deevak is letting up any one bit, and he's passing the ball down, plays it onto Neymar. Neymar with some fancy footwork does get past his defender, gets past both, passes the back in. He's going to find some space here, Deevak, to try and get his goal in. Is he going to get the 10th one in on aggregate? No, the defense tightens down. They close us out, and he's like, no, not today. I will not get these double digits, but it's not over yet as the throw-in goes. But yeah, he's able to just recover from that one. And at this point, Snare, I feel like we're just all holding our breath, just hoping that Darth can just find one in this one so far.
Desperately wanted to get at least one back. Can't have this game be this one-sided. Sure, there's fewer goals than what we saw in the first leg, but seems much more dominant a performance in here from Deevak. He's even trying out new things. Deevak doesn't normally spend this much time playing with as much flair with the dribbles, but he can afford to do so in this game because why not? Although here it might come. This might be the opportunity. Atal in possession, gets the shot. Oh, right over the crossbar. Golden opportunity, I think. That was bottled. One of very few shots that was actually gotten off here. Mayhem can't convert it, unfortunately.
Yeah, and that turn to get that pass on was beautiful, but unfortunately nothing comes from it. So now Darth's going to be able to just play it down in the middle of the pitch. And I mean, look at that defensive line. Look at how the defenders are just pulling back ready. And he doesn't even need his defense to defend for him at this point, Deevak. He's holding things down in the middle of the pitch. Will he be able to get past this defender? He does manage to find the pass. There is someone on for the pass, but it doesn't seem like it's going to happen in Darth now. Desperately needs a goal, desperately needs to pull something back, does find someone on the wide wing here, is going to be able to get the pass in, and he pulls one back. Yes, Darth, this is what you need. This is how you come back from this deficit. We believe.
Finally he gets something going for himself, gets a goal. It's in the dying moments of the game, but at this point it doesn't matter. It just matters that you were able to make sure you do not go down with a clean sheet. Still though, he still wants to prevent 10. Losing is one thing, but catching twice is another. Let's see if he can avoid that from happening. The thing is, it's also quite dangerous to try and run out the clock, right? Because you also know that when he wants to, can turn on that aggression, secure the ball. So your best defense is probably offense. He's going to try for it now. Mbappe looking for the second goal of this game. Can he find the space? Atal a little bit open. Mbappe holding up for a little bit too long, so he doesn't have the clean angle with the shot. They still have possession though. Back onto it with Mbappe. Can he keep it though? No. Essien, the classic player, denies Mayhem the second goal of this game.
And Deevak, he's looking for this goal. He wants this goal. He knows he can get it. He's gonna find a pass onto the wing here. Mbappe, the danger man himself, running it in here. He's trying to play it in, but the defense has locked things down. Jones manages to get that one and pass, but no, not just yet. He's back in here. He's got Neymar on the shot. The keeper, just in time.
No, big mistake.
Yo, that was a big mistake, but he's fine. He recovers. Last few minutes of this game, added time in. He's holding it out. He needs to clear this one. He needs to play down, and yeah, he manages to hold it down.
Okay.
He will not go down to 10 on aggregate, thankfully. But I mean, thankfully, regardless of the fact that he did lose that game at quite a bigger disadvantage. But yeah, I mean, Deevak just played that one excellently. And I mean, look, Dr. Sid, let me spin it back for you. Masterclass, right?
Facts on facts. And you know, what I saw there was, you know, watching the game, and I was like, wow. Like Deevak has so much control of his entire team, from the defense to the midfield to the attack. I mean, and the attackers were definitely putting on difficulty. But what I noticed from the other guy was that there was a disconnect between his midfielders and his defense and his attack. You know, because when I was learning how to play FIFA, they tell you that you don't defend with your defenders, you defend with your midfielders. You give them that cover, so they just come in and mop up whatever spills, you know. And I noticed that once the ball just got past the midfield, it was Neymar against the back four, and there was nothing that he could do there. And the scoreline says it all. Let's take a look at the scores for the second game, and the total scores against both legs. It's a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
9-4 on aggregates over 2 legs. DarthMayhem did his best, but Deevak came through, as you said, Tendon, as we always say, with a masterclass. going ham from the first game and just closing it out in the second match as well to make sure that he dominated throughout. Now let's take a look at how this affects the leaderboard for the Umzansi Esports League Season 3 FIFA 21. Snare, what do you see?
So the one thing now is that Deevak, because he has obviously had the highest goal difference that we've seen so far from the play, he's sitting at the very top of the leaderboard. A good win, a victory that was somewhat expected coming in from him. I think both him and Unfazed will be glad and happy that their first matchups were some of the new kids on the block. Young Savage and DarthMayhem, not really expected to wind up in the top 4 at the end of the season. So for Deevak and Unfazed, they're happy to have been able to do that. For Young Savage and DarthMayhem, though, despite the losses, I think there's a lot of positives to take from the games for both of them. They were both able to score against 2 of the best players in the country. Both of them had moments where they looked extremely convincing, and both of them were able to adapt their defenses. Looked much worse earlier in their games than they did towards the end of their games. So I think that despite them being at the bottom of this leaderboard right now, and there being the potential for them to have more or less an end of the season that looks similar to this, they have a situation right now where there's a lot to learn from. They've gotten past the biggest competition. It doesn't harder than Deevak and Unfazed. So if you can go up against these guys and things aren't super humiliating and there's still things you can learn from the game, I think they can still be happy with how the rest of the season can pan out.
Wow, and we are definitely going to be looking forward to the rest of the season. Tendota, I know you're super excited. I just want to quickly ask before we go for a quick break. Watching DarthMayhem just now, I mean, and if you had to advise anyone else, like obviously this was an underdog going against one of the top players in the country right now, what would your advice be? Because we did say that I know Snare was saying earlier on that if you're in position, you relax and you watch, but we didn't see that from Deevak. What would you advise a player going against somebody in the top league in the next coming games?
Yeah, and I mean, that was ringing through my head the whole time, that conversation we had in the beginning of the broadcast, where it's like, are you the underdog and you come into this one to feel out your opponent? Clearly, I feel like Darth felt out, Deevak, and it didn't work in his favor. He tried to almost adapt around his playstyle, whereas you should probably go into these matches as the underdog with your own playstyle, with your own game plan, and force the expected winner to adapt around you, and then it will almost level out, I think, the gameplay. And I think we saw more of that in that second leg where he was like, yes, I know I can stick to my guns. I can make some good plays down the middle as long as, we can retain the ball and push it up the field and counter his attacks. And I think that's what started working for him. But yeah, I mean, unfortunately, Deevak was just, the much better opponent and he ended up winning. But you gotta, I think, definitely come in knowing that you can take on anybody, and I think a good rule of thumb is if David can take down Goliath, it doesn't really matter like who's in front of you, right? You just have to give it your all.
All right, thank you guys so much. Thank you, Snare. Thank you, Tendo. We're gonna go for a quick break, and when we come back, it is still gonna be the Umzansi Esports League, where we're gonna be switching over to PUBG Mobile. Ladies and gentlemen, I will see you right after this break. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It is still your boy, Dr. Sid, live here with two amazing people, Patchy and DK, and we are here talking PUBG Mobile at the Umzansi Esports League Season 3. How you doing? Okay, welcome back. Patchy, welcome back.
That's awesome to be back. I mean, yeah, watching the games yesterday was pretty spicy, as we heard Patchy say yesterday as well. So quite keen to get into the games between Group B and Group D and Group C today.
Yeah, and one thing I'm super excited about, first thing, and what I want us to do is take a quick look at the leaderboard to see the wrap up from what happened yesterday at the Umzansi Esports League Season 3.
Yeah,
Patchy, you want to talk us through this one?
Let's go. So Undisputed AE, of course, sitting up there in that first pole position, 61 points, and it's no surprise considering that they got that chicken dinner in the second game, and of course 33 kills to their name. Very, very insane score straight off the bat. I mean, that is one heck of a score to start the season off with. Followed by Zero Tolerance Skills in that second position, 45 points. Immortals coming in third, 44 points, followed closely by G3 Temper sitting with 37 in fourth place. Not Gaming in fifth with 22. Sparza 6 in sixth with 20. A little bit of a theme going on there, I think. Infamous Rage Africa in seventh with 18, and of course Black Clover sitting in eighth position with 17 points.
Yeah, then of course as we move over to our second page, you can see the players there from BBC sitting over in ninth place on 17 points. The players there from Rainbow Six Madagascar over in 10th place on 16. Then of course Aphelion Apex sitting in 11th place on 12 points. We got Fear in 12th place on 10 points. Then of course the players there from Ultra 6 on 7 points in 13th place. We got Blank Legion in 14th on 2. And then, of course, the players there from Gun or Gamers United Nations in 15th on 0 points. And, of course, the same for the players from Lag Esports, also 0 points at the current time.
Yeah. I mean, for me, what I'm super excited about is to see the distribution of the countries across the African continent. We see Madagascar in there, we see Mauritius in there, Nigerian teams and South Africans. And that is just the beauty of what the Umzansi Esports League does. It brings African teams together and to showcase the best of African talent. Today, I have a personal vested interest in this day because my esports team, Citizens Gaming, is playing today when Group C and Group D take on each other. I would like if we could just take a look at the teams in Group D and Group C who are going to be competing today.
All right, headed up straight into our Group C squads. It's Gamers United Nations. It's actually a team that I'm looking forward to having just a little bit of a look and see how they perform here moving into this. And of course, next up, Lag Esports, the Comfy Cartel, Pain Africa. We got the Drogons, we got Nibble Esports, we got the Natural Killers, and Toxic Esports as well. A couple of names in there that I definitely want to be seeing get some good performance in here in the start of the season because you know they've set our expectations pretty high from last season.
Yeah, definitely agree with you on that. And now, of course, looking over towards the players here from the Group D squads, we have the Outsiders officials. We've got a Rain from Hell, as well as the players there from Citizens Gaming. We've got Sincerity Esports in the mix alongside the players there from the Euphoric Gods. We got Slime 4KT, the Young Thundercats, and of course the players coming in there from NFxUNIQUE. So some really interesting names that we've got here in the squad Group D as well. And of course, as we know, the players there from Slime 4KT, they've been the team that won the Red Bull Africa. I believe that was the... Yeah, they qualified for Africa and they also won the PMCO.
Yeah, and I mean, they also did really, really well in the previous season of the Umzansi. So, I mean, they are definitely a force to be reckoned with for sure, especially if they keep up that performance. So, yeah, that's going to be quite interesting.
So, obviously, we are going to play 3 games today on 3 different maps, Erangel, Sandhawk, and Miramar. And from yesterday, we saw varying strategies. Obviously, the different maps require different teams to do different things. Now, DK, I want to ask you a question. Now, I mean, I know you said you're looking out for Slime 4KT and some other teams, but when you say the different maps, who do you think is going to be taking this first game on Erangel. I would like to get your opinion, and then Patchy tell me which team he's rooting for to take the first winner chicken dinner in the first map on Erangel.
Well, I can tell you right off the bat, it is going to be a close one. I'm thinking to see Gun place well on Erangel. I'm also thinking Nibble could potentially be placing well on that as well. And then, maybe Unique and 4KT. I think it's between those 4 teams.
I'm not happy. Citizens Gaming should be in there as well. But whatever, let's take a look at the points distribution for the tournament.
Yeah, this is the best part about a lot of the talks that we do about what to play for, and I think actually we spoke a little bit about this, Dr. Sid, yesterday. You know, what to play for, what strategies should you try and lean more into, and this point structure is exactly the reason that comes into that conversation. So of course, first place is going to get you those 20 points, second place is going to get you 14 points, third place will get you 10 points, fourth place gets you 8, and then of course reduced by 1. Fifth and 7th points, 6th is 6 points, 7th 5 points, all the way down to 10th place, which is 2 points, and then 11th to 16th place gets you the 1 point, and then, and this is the crux, this is the big one right here, it's 1 kill, 1 point, and that is huge for a lot of the focus of gameplay that comes in to the Umzansi Esports League.
Yeah, and even when we took a look at the leaderboard, there are certain teams that just got a lot of high placements based on their kills. And looking at the prize pool right now, where those placements come into play is that there is a whopping $15,000 prize pool out of a total $17,500 available in this tournament. The PUBG teams are playing for big money and they're putting in their best. Now, before we jump into the game, I'm super excited. We have DK, we have Patchy. It is going to be an exciting day. I'm definitely Patchy. Who are you rooting for? I know we have DK's a list. Give me 2 teams that you think will be rooting for. I don't name Citizens Gaming in one of them.
Well, I have a few more than 2, but yeah, DK stole a couple of mine. I'm definitely looking out for Gun. I have to say Citizens just for you, Dr. Sid, but they definitely have shown themselves a couple of times before, so they're definitely on the watch list. And then a couple of other teams I'm looking for. I like Nibble. I've seen them do some cool things before. The Natural Killers also maybe a little bit more underrated than a lot of people expect, so definitely a team to watch out for. They can certainly come in and surprise us. So yeah, those are the names I think I'm going to keep my eye on for the time being. Of course, we might just be getting some surprises like yesterday where UAE definitely gave us something to watch out for as well.
Yo, ladies and gentlemen, it is going to be lit. If you are not following Nordwind Gaming Africa on all their socials, you need to do so now so you can stay up to date with all the information that we give you when it comes to esports in Africa, and especially the Umzansi Esports League Season 3. Now, we are just waiting for the plane to take off to Erangel, where our players are going to be vying for top spot in the Umzansi Season 3. And like I said before, it is brought to you by Nordwind Gaming. My name is Dr. Sid. I'm here with 2 amazing guys, DK and Patchy, and they're going to be talking you through some amazing action with some amazing teams other than Citizens Gaming. But yeah, whatever. We are just waiting for this thing to pop up. But I want to also remind people very quickly of what the leaderboard looks like so we know who's on top and who's going to be fighting for spaces. The reason I asked for the leaderboard is I also wanted to point out, look at the kill points from teams like Not Gaming and Zero Tolerance. Now, these teams have used the kill points to push up the leaderboards and positioning themselves very well to qualify for the semifinals. It is highly important that teams focus not only on placement points, but on kill points as well.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, you can see the stark difference, especially in the upper part of the leaderboard. There is, you could be sitting, for instance, like G3 Temper, they've got 27 placement points. And then sitting right above them, the team has 24 placement points, I think it is. But the reason they're above is just because they have more kills, and that's why kills are so important. I mean, they can really impact the entire leaderboard, and I mean that is the most evident with the team sitting right at the top. They have like more kill points than they have placement points, you know, and that's just that's just telling.
And ladies and gentlemen, it is taking off. My name is Dr. Sid. I'm leaving you in the very capable hands of these two gentlemen who are going to walk you through all the action as we go through Group D versus Group C in the Umzansi Esports League Season 3 PUBG Mobile Tournament. See you guys after the game.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Sid. Heading off into Wrangle for Day 2, Season 3 of the Umzansi Esports League, ready to jump back into with teams that we haven't seen yet in the season. We have, of course, seen a few of them in the previous season. Heading down to a Wrangle, we should expect maybe a little bit of a clean slate. We did see some of those teams that, you know, we've seen in a couple of previous seasons doing a few different things, and then we had teams like BBC who just did the same old, dropping in Milta Power, going all the way around, doing their thing. So I'm interested to see how these teams decide to approach this. Is it going to be a clean slate, or is it going to be a little bit of that, a little bit of the stuff that we know and love coming out from some of these familiar names?
Well, I can tell you definitely it's going to be quite interesting to see how the teams are going to make their way through this zone, as we've got a very similar flight path to what we had in yesterday's first visit to Erangel, following a very similar kind of shape there. But of course, now we wait to see just how far that zone is going to shift up. We did have a quick bit of a preview on that one, but of course, the thing that we're going to be looking at is how these teams are going to be rotating up, where they're going to be taking those occupations of, and then how they're going to try and potentially rotate in from those points into the next phase.
Yeah. For sure. So we're going to keep our eyes on the map and see what is going to be happening here. Definitely not expecting anything too crazy, although yesterday I was chatting with Fproxy about, you know, the thing that we always talk about when it comes to these games, you know, the aggression versus the slower strategic play and the interplay between those two concepts. It always comes up because, you know, we love to see action, but of course it might not always be the most effective strategy to use. So generally speaking, you know, we always have that sort of prep phase right in the beginning where all the teams are a little bit less aggressive, making sure they just get themselves in a good spot. But hopefully we'll see some things start to happen here between the teams. You can see there are a couple of teams situated quite close to one another. So hopefully they do start to put out their feelers just a little bit and, you know, start to make one another uncomfortable.
Well, of course, we see the players here from the Drogons. They've already moved into a very usual spot for them, moving up into the apartment building here of school. And just on the opposite end, we see the players there, of course, also just making their way on through, that being the players there from the Euphoric gods. So I'm expecting to see a few potential fights maybe coming in the early game, as we have a few players in very close proximity. But of course, as we know, anything can happen. The players are bound to start rotating up, getting into those positions to line themselves up for where the second phase could potentially be going. So I'm expecting the teams to take it a little bit passive in the first phase, maybe even the second phase. But as we then start progressing through these phases, start getting through those zones, of course, then gradually the aggression will start building. And that is exactly what we saw in yesterday's games with the teams playing as well.
Yeah, and that is pretty much what we expect to see coming out of a Wrangle as well. You can get some early aggression. We have seen that a couple times, and it is something that, you know, at some point can come into the conversation where we do see, especially in the previous season, towards the end, we did see a couple of a chance taking when teams decided to early push and try and, you know, get some of the early knocks, early wipes to really take out some of those big names. And, you know, we were actually talking about the power of being able to do that against a team that might just be ahead of you. You know, try and trip them up early when you can still catch them out, maybe catch them by surprise. Of course, that's not something we're going to see all just yet because, you know, it's still early days in terms of the season. Teams are still getting used to one another, and there's no clear leader in any of the groups just yet. Of course, we will start to see those you know, rising to the top as we move through the beginning of the season. But for now, it's just a little bit of a proving ground where these teams have a chance to lay down a little bit of the law of, you know, What I mean by that, you know, just get themselves up a little bit of a lead, maybe make themselves a name in this season 3.
Yeah, that's essentially where they want to try and set up those anchor points. Aside from setting up the anchor points within the zone, they want to also do that on that leaderboard to try and secure them for the coming weeks, because this leaderboard is going to keep on building and building and building. Those points will keep on accumulating in. So the stronger start you can get to that, the better it would be for you in the long run, obviously. But it's going to be interesting to see how these teams are going to go about it. And we're seeing a nice concentration of teams now, once again, starting to converge down on towards that centralized portion of the zone. But quite a few teams still hanging around on the outskirts in a very center zone. So it's going to be interesting, definitely, if we move into the second phase, especially if it moves down to the south or even to the western side. In fact, it could move either which way. The teams are going to be in such an interesting position, and it's going to be quite fun to see how they're going to try and make their way around to secure themselves for the next phase.
Yeah, so straight away what we're looking at here on this map is we're seeing a little bit of that centralization that we saw become a lot more common progressing from the first to second season. That's definitely been a bit of a staple in terms of what we've been seeing the teams do, which is actually quite nice because it does allow for some more consistent engagements towards the mid game. So that's always nice to see. And of course, here we go. Already some engagements taking place. That's Citizens getting hammered at the moment, as the Dragons, or the Drogons, should I say, moving on up and making some noise.
And they definitely send up into this compound very aggressively. Just coming in, rushing up, and of course, well, they've had a few knocks onto their side. The Citizens also having 2 knocks on their sides, so it's a nice 2-2 challenge now. Nice trade-off that we have between these two teams. So this is where we're going to be seeing whether or not the Drogons will be able to maybe claim this compound for themselves, or will we see the Citizens hold on, defend it, and just stop the Drogons right there in the tracks?
Yeah, this is actually a really amazing scenario we've got going right here. This is an instance where the attacking team and the defending team don't necessarily have an immediate advantage, a little bit of equilibrium for a while, but for some, you know, at some point you got to pull the trigger, and indeed the Drogons are looking to do that, moving in towards the house. Now they're pushing through. Can the Citizens repel the attack? And here comes Rick trying to put the hits in. He will find that first knock. Down goes the Super. We have to find a whole lot more as they just absolutely pile in. Nero goes down. The Drogons laying down the fire, and they will find those kills. The Citizens get taken out, but here comes Gun for that lacquer retaliation, moving in for the kill. Can the Drogons defend this push is the question. They haven't even had a chance to breathe after taking that squad wipe.
And that is typical fashion from what we see on Erangel with these teams. They like to capitalize on those third parties. And of course, now the Drogons down to Jeff. It is going to be a very tough one for Jeff to hold up against the full squad. And of course, with that, Gun seals the deal, gets the wipe, and off they go. A very easy push there and a very easy cleanup for them as well.
That was actually really, really solid gameplay right there. We just saw this was like a small isolated chess game happening right here. The Drogons saw the Citizens in this compound. They pulled the trigger. They moved in. It was a little bit of a stalemate for a second. The Drogons then found their little entry point, got their foot in the door, pushed through, immediately got that wipe with a really good push through onto the Citizens. And as soon as they got that wipe, Gun was like, all right, now it's our time. And they just zoomed straight on in and took them out. And that is exactly what we like to see. Really, really exciting stuff. And of course, now we have a little bit of a battle going up here on top of this hill. Smokes are getting popped as the gunfire is getting exchanged. Sinister very low on HP, has to pop those smokes, and everyone is just trying to recuperate after that brief engagement there.
I mean, Potato Hill is always a highly contested spot. You can see the players there, of course, from Euphoric Gods. They've moved in from the north. The players here from Pain now also just trying to hold on to this position. They still have their numbers up, but they don't have those numbers on the side of Potato Hill. If you look on the other side, though, the players from Euphoric Gods, they have rushed in full squad to sending themselves into that position and, in fact, pushing away the players there from Pain. So they have now been forced to rotate away and relocate elsewhere. So some really nice aggression coming in from them. Unfortunately, It didn't result in them getting any kills from this exchange just yet. But of course, as we can see, that zone has shifted up over towards the western side. So there will be definitely another opportunity for these teams to have a second go at that.
Yeah, there's definitely a little bit of downtime here. The zone is just large enough for them to continue recuperating a little bit, get themselves in a position to take that late game. So we'll see how the teams decide to approach this, if they feel like they're ready or if they feel like they need a little bit more time. They do have that option. But of course, as we know, as we see time and time again, the game, once that point has been reached, the game does not give you any second chances. Once we step over that line, there's no going back, and the teams have to fight it out. So they have to use every second they can get to prepare. And, well, we'll have a look and see if the teams can do just that. At the moment, we're still sitting on 13 teams, 48 players left alive. And, well, the question is, who is going to be the next team to bite the dust?
Well, I'm quite curious to see, though, how the players there from the Euphoric guys are going to take the second rush from them. Because if you look at the play that they executed over towards Potato Hill, I'd call that like a honey badger approach. You know, they puffed their chest up, they came running in, scaring off whoever else was there, and it worked. I mean, Payne was just like, no, it's fine, we'll leave. We'll just go. We don't want to go up against them just yet. But of course, they've now moved up just a little bit further over towards that western side. You see the players here from Payne. They've relocated over in towards Pachinki. A nice drop coming down there on top of them. And of course, well, they jump straight at the opportunity. As you can see, Kingerman jumping straight into that, grabbing, of course, the lovely level 3 gear there. As you can see, it was a Groza with a nice 4-scope and, of course, that level 3 armor. But now, over on the eastern side, we see the teams starting to move in. We've got the players there from Rain making their entry in towards zone. And of course, Natural Killers are right there alongside them. But as they push further inwards, they're going to start bumping into the players there from NFxUNIQUE. So things might get pretty tough for them.
It certainly could, because it's looking like a little bit of a potential for some shots to be fired, some battles to be happening. And that's exactly what we like to see. We can see Keish now putting his crosshair right over in towards the crack in that little shack down there, waiting for the opportune moment to pull the trigger. Has not done so just yet, but is waiting, laying there, just waiting to see if his prey will poke his head out. And there it is, waiting to see if he can land that shot. Not going to find it just yet, and that should be enough to escape. So for the time being, will escape with their lives, but at least the intent is there. The intent to start those fights, to find some knocks, to find a little bit of aggression there. Really, really good to see.
I'm liking that trigger discipline that we see coming in there from Keish. I mean, Keish was lying there. That shot was lined up. Unfortunately, he missed the shot. Things didn't really go according to plan, but still, he laid there in wait, just waiting for things to line up. And then when he thought it was the opportune moment to strike, he did exactly that. Unfortunately, it didn't go according to plan, but either way, it was still a very valiant effort. But now, of course, we move over towards the bridge. As you can see, not too far away from Watertown, just on the opposite end of that. The players here from the Young Thundercats now taking occupation of the compounds that we have alongside this road. And this is actually a really good position, as they can set up a really nice ambush from here, especially for the teams that could be rotating in from, let's say, that southeastern side, trying to push up a little bit further, or potentially the teams coming in from the northwestern end, heading back down over towards the southwest.
Yeah, we could certainly see a couple of things start to happen here. You can see the amount of teams concentrated towards that southwest position. Definitely could be quite a bit of fighting happening there. Of course, here on your screen, Kingman actually just going to be instantly pulling the trigger there to find some shots. Broly is right down on the deck there, so a little bit of a tough position. Has to come and get rezzed back up just barely in time, but the team does make it squeak. Comes to his rescue. Kimman also going to be healing himself up as he recuperates with the rest of the team. So the battles are certainly happening as the teams get closer and closer.
I mean, it's going to be tough. We still have 13 teams remaining, 48 players alive, and the space that they have at their disposal is definitely starting to run on out. You can see also just on the distance there, we've got the players from the outsiders positioned up in towards the northeastern side. So we've got Payne, we've got the players right here in front of them, of course, from the Euphoric guards. got so many teams in the vicinity. And then, of course, we have the players now starting to move on in there from the Toxic Esports team. So, yeah, things are really starting to heat up as these teams are just getting closer and closer together. The shots now starting to fly on in. And, of course, this is where things are going to get a little bit messy.
Yeah, they certainly will. Kingerman still looking for those opportunities on towards Sunny, and the rest of the God squad will have a look and see if they can repel the attacks, because at the moment Kingerman is pretty much unchallenged there. Hasn't really been dealt all that much damage. In the meantime, of course, Shylock putting some shots in as well. Myth right on the top of this balcony here, looking to see any of the surrounding teams ahead. And certainly there are going to be a couple more as the zone does get smaller. We're heading in towards that mid to late game. 4 zones in as the next zone is about to move in 35 seconds. Hunter still looking for the rest of the squad, who is slowly encroaching on their territory. Are they going to be able to take it, or are they just going to circumvent the territory for now? It does look like that is the case. They're just going to be moving all the way around and potentially getting a different position for themselves.
But it's interesting to see where the zone is as well. I mean, thankfully the zone isn't a little bit further up in towards that northwestern side. Otherwise, we would have seen quite a few teams taking position up in towards Headshot Hills. But Vegeta now, as you can see, just off in the distance there, having a few shots come in, getting knocked out in the process. Now, this is where things get difficult for the players there from Toxic, because they now need to decide what are they going to prioritize. Are they going to try and go in for the rest of their teammate? Are they going to leave him there and potentially try to move on up? Of course, the same thing can also be said about here in Rozhok. We've got 3 teams. We've got Gun, we've got the players from Lag, and then another team over towards the eastern side. So they also have to decide what it is that they are going to try and prioritize as they make their way through this region.
Yeah, that is definitely a good question, and well, there we have some answers, as definitely some shots are flying on in. A lot of players currently hitting the deck. Squeak, Sinister, everyone is definitely getting hammered. That's 4KT putting a lot of those shots in, so definitely people are taking the initiative right here, or at least 4KT is taking some initiative. Of course, Nova here also finding a couple of free shots in towards Terry. Definitely picking the right moments here, and well, that is going to reward them with some lovely kills there. You could see those numbers ticking down a bit by bit. That kill feed going absolutely nuts at the moment. We got 12 teams, 39 players left alive. Seller looking to wreak some more havoc there with that mini 14, certainly going to try to do so. Aimbot doing the same, as well, everyone's just huddling up. Rozhok looking like an absolute battleground at the moment, and things are only going to get tougher for these teams.
And of course, with that zone centering up into this northwestern region, this is where things are going to be so tough. We could have a few teams trying to push over from school, trying to come over that Rozhok hill. As you can see, of course, just in the kill feed, things are looking absolutely insane. With that positioning over that river there, it's quite interesting to see that we haven't seen any teams really try to push up in towards the north. But of course, looking down towards the south, we have one of the players there from Cartel. We've got the full squad, or what is left rather, from the squad of 4KT right there alongside the outsiders. Bane, and then of course the players there from the Euphoric Gods also just positioned down into the south. So things are still looking pretty tough. We got a little bit of a separation coming in between the teams, a concentration of teams over in towards Rozhok, and a few teams down in towards the south. So I'm waiting for the point where those two splits start converging, and those teams, all of them, start clashing it out.
Yeah, it is going to be quite interesting for the moment. We've got some teams just holed up inside the compounds, inside the houses, just waiting for that right moment. Of course, the zone is moving up, and that is going to force a lot of rotates, going to force some movement, and of course some action here. We do have the outsiders and a couple of other players on the outside of that zone, so they are going to be braving the blue and hoping to survive for the time being. Luckily, they do have some vehicles to escape, but, well, question is the re-entry going to be smooth? There's a lot of players laying in wait. You can see the amount of teams just in the surrounding area, and Orisa just barely making it in, solo on HP. A single bullet might just do it, and there it is. The Beast going to put that in. No chance to survive, and that is the danger of Blue Zone. 5 blue zones to be exact. You can see that zone all the way down towards the south, making those rotates come straight on through. All the teams in Rozhok do have to move in. Natural Killers resing themselves up to try and prepare for the fight. You can see the bullets flying on in as everyone is trying to put down that fire, trying to get some points, get the kills, get the knocks. Hunter going to get taken straight out. There's just no chance for these teams right now. They are scrambling to make things work. There's barely any cover out here in the open as the zone has been quite a cruel master here for these teams.
I mean, this zone is just beautiful to watch. As we can see, the players from Sincerity, they are positioned on the far side of that zone. So if they can secure the zone for the time being, they can really capitalize on that. And we see this happening right here with the teams. But what I'm curious to see is how the teams are going to try and push in from that eastern side. As we can see, there is such a big number of players still coming in from this region. The casualties, of course, now just finding their way on through. The players here from Rain from Hell actually trying to get back to their wounded, get their numbers back up to par so they can continue to fight in the coming phases. But I mean, Sincerity, they are just perched up on the side of this western edge, waiting to see where the next zone is going to be going. But of course, now they are still relentless in their efforts. They're going to try and put in those shots, try land those hits, and of course, try to bring in as many points as they can. Beast now getting knocked out once again. It is down to 2 remaining players. If they can pull off those raises, they can of course then restore their numbers. But with those efforts that we see coming in towards them, it is going to be a really grueling task for them to pull off.
Oh yeah, things have been so tough. I mean, those mini 14s have been going absolutely crazy in some of these players' hands, and well, that is just that's just how it goes in the game of PUBG at the moment. Aimbot putting some hits in is going to get taken down by Illusion though, as the teams are slowly converging. That zone looking absolutely tiny as it moves in once again and forces all the players closer, all of them down. All of them need to rotate. Such a difficult position for these teams to be in. 6 teams remaining as some more get knocked out, and you can see everyone is in such a difficult spot. There's a couple of players that have just made it inside that zone, but ultimately everyone else has got to make the rotate, and that's going to be difficult because that means exposing yourself. And right now, that is a tough choice to make. You can see some of the smokes coming down to obscure the vision, trying to just bait out the time just a little bit, trying to buy themselves a couple of extra seconds to prepare to maybe find an advantage over some of the other teams. The cars, the vehicles all over the place to try and just add a little bit of extra cover. But is it going to be enough? Who's going to find those first knocks? Who's going to find the first kills? Everyone is looking for it, and there comes some shots. Plaza going to put them in. Gun also looking for it as Nerf tries to put some of those long-range shots in. All the teams just trying to find whatever they can to make this work.
And of course, now the time runs out. The blue zone starts to move in. The players there from the Young Thundercats in a good position, taking occupation of one of the only compounds in the zone. Now Gun trying to make a quick dash for it, trying to push into that center position, just trying to gain entry, in fact, into the edge of the zone. But now, of course, they're getting quite a bit of crossfire. We see the players there, of course, from the Natural Killers also now trying to move on in. We got Plaza just blowing up the vehicle to provide that extra layer of hard cover. But it's a little bit too late as the Natural Killers come in from behind, finding that angle into the side of them. And of course, that zone once again moving up in favor of the players there from the Young Thundercats. So I'm curious to see how long they're going to stay in that compound. And of course, just how this match is going to end. Because so far, it is working out phenomenally in their favor.
Yeah, it is. I mean, having control of this compound is absolutely huge right now. That is extra cover. It is protection. It's like a castle, especially compared to the cover that some of these other teams have. And I mean, Natural Killer's in such a difficult spot with the blue zone right on their heels. Sulla getting taken out as the rest of the team cannot come in to help. And well, positions are known, and it might actually be the end for the Natural Killers here as the shots come through from Abomination and the rest of the squad. They are in such a good position. They're trying to utilize it as best they can because, of course, with the next zone rotation, they might just get kicked out. So they are trying to use this position to the best of their advantage for the time being. These 3 teams remaining, the Natural Killers barely hanging on by a thread at the moment. They might just get taken out at any second. Of course, there is another full team just off to the side, as you can see. also preparing themselves, but they have a very minuscule amount of cover. It's a little bit of a hut, but that is it. Of course, the rotation from the zone coming through is going to push all the teams forward, and there is no cover left once these rotations come through. It is going to be super, super tough here for these teams. It is going to be a gun battle, and that is it. They've got trees, they've got smokes, and they've got their guns, and they are just going to have to go ham to try and win this one.
I mean, at the end of the day, if a shack could be all that you need to find those hits into the opposing teams. As you can see, that zone shifting into a very difficult position, of course, now forcing the hand of the young Thundercats as well as the natural killers. So we're going to be seeing those rotations come in. And of course, the players here from Sincerity, they still have a full squad alive. In the 7th phase, we're about to see that 7th phase blue zone start closing in. Then we move into the 8th one. That is where things are going to get absolutely brutal. We're not going to be seeing any additional zones after that. Then it is a do or die moment. The teams have to play their absolute best game right in these final few phases. And of course, the players here from Young Thundercats, they are just hugging the compounds for as long as they possibly can. You can see Muffin now finding that shot into the side there of Abomination. Now Illusion keeping that angle, trying to see if he can find an opening into the side of the players from Sincerity, looking for that vulnerability. But of course now, here we have Roshi starting to move on in. Only 4 kills for the team there of Natural Killers. 4 kills is still a really decent kill count to come into, especially if it is in the top 3. But now we're going to be seeing how this final zone could be panning out. 8 players alive. 3 teams remain. That is 1 full squad on the side of Sincerity. The 3 players for the squad of the Young Thundercats. And then, of course, well, we've got Roshi coming in there from the Natural Killers, who is just now hiding behind the tree. Rogue cooking up a few nades, trying to send them across. Muffin also just taking position behind that tree.
Oh, shame. Hanging on for so long, but Roshi eventually have to go down. And I mean, Young Thundercats coming up now, trying to put the hits in. Definitely have been a bit of a surprise for, I think, a lot of people, not expecting Young Thundercats to get up this far. But here they are now, 1 versus 1 here. 1 team versus 1 team. At least it's 2 teams remaining at the moment. Muffin putting the crosshairs over towards the Young Thundercats, who do have the edge of the compound to their advantage. But for how much longer is the question? The shots are going through at the moment. As the rest of the squad is putting them in, the Young Thundercats find themselves in a really difficult spot. It's do or die for them. Either it's the chicken dinner or it's 2nd place. And sometimes that 2nd place can sting just as much when that chicken dinner is so close for either one of these teams. Just the right landed shots, the right movements, the right decisions in this moment are going to decide absolutely everything right now. The shots go through. Abomination gets taken down. Rogue finding those hits, and that's going to mean the man advantage is taken away from the Young Thundercats, and this could be the final push.
And here they come, and I'm loving this approach coming in from Sincerity. Beautiful positioning in the zone, and here they go, coming in for that final rush onto the side of the Young Thundercats, moving up to the windows, finding the hits, and down they go. What a play that was. Sincerity playing an absolutely phenomenal game and finishing off on 8 kills. Wow.
Yeah. There it is. What a score coming out there, and what a first match here for day 2 of season 3. Young Thundercats coming up there in the 2nd place, and of course the Natural Killers heading in 3rd. So yeah, what a way to start things off.
Really, really strong showing from these teams. I mean, even the players there from the Natural Killers also coming in with 4 kills, finishing in 3rd place. That is a decent place to be in. Yeah. I wasn't expecting to see an outlandish amount of kills to come in from these teams, just based on how difficult that zone was. And of course, with so many players that we saw falling to that zone, but overall still a fantastic match.
Absolutely fantastic match. The final push coming around into the window. I saw the guys, the guy from YT team trying to literally push into the zone and keep Sincerity at bay, but it just didn't happen. That was just amazing play. Patchy, for you, what were your highlights of this game today?
You know, it wasn't really the most intense early game that we've seen. I mean, there definitely have been a little bit more intense Erangel early games that we have seen, so it was a little bit lighter on that. But I think moving in towards the end, I think my favorite part was probably the just before we got into the final few zones, when everyone was still stuck inside the compounds and the buildings, just trying to wait it out, put a couple of pot shots across, and we saw a lot of teams scrambling around trying to stay alive, a lot of pot shots here and there. I think that's one of my favorite parts of the game in general, but definitely one of the most enjoyable parts of this first match here.
And DK, what was your highlights of that first game?
For me, the most entertaining part was definitely that Honey Badger play. For me, Potato Hill, Honey Badger rush coming in there from the side of Euphoric Gods. That was just well executed. Showing a little bit of dominance, come rushing in, saying, get out. We are trying to get into here. I love that play. That was so entertaining to watch. But I definitely think that last rush that we saw coming in from Sincerity, moving in from phase 7 to phase 8, the way that they had spread themselves out, right? Usually having such a big split in that late phase of the game is not always easy to pull off, but they just made it work, and fortunately they were able to find those angles into the side there of Young Thundercats. So yeah, that was a really well executed maneuver there from them.
All right, let's take a look at our winner chicken dinner from this first game and the standings after the first match of this game. Pachi, what do you say? What do you say to this?
Well, if you have a look, I mean, this echoes exactly what we were talking about before the game started when we were looking at the standings there. 15 placement points for Sincerity Esports, but have a look, 12 placement points for Young Thundercats, and yet they are still down in 4th place, and that is only because of the kill points. Look at Rain from Hell, 8 placement points, but 9 kill points, and that's putting them in 2nd place after that game, which is exactly why I said we have to bring that into the conversation. It is the kill points that really can make a difference here, and the balance between those two is absolutely huge. We mentioned this earlier yesterday, that consistency definitely helps quite a lot. So yeah, I mean, the proof is in the pudding, as they say.
Wow, and I'm not going to talk about Citizens Gaming because they went really early. Yeah, let's take a look at the bottom of the standings.
Well, I mean, if you look at the bottom of the standings, right, it's understandable. It was a fairly harsh zone to a certain extent. But of course, this is, once again, I just want to echo what Matchy said, is, kills are important. That is, at times, the deciding factor whether you find yourself in a position you want to be on the overall standings, or if you don't make the cut. That is where the kills come in. I mean, we've seen so many times where teams have just come out of nowhere purely based on kills, just how they've been playing that game. Yes, they did find good positioning also throughout the approaches there, but they were quite kill heavy, and that is really something that can catapult a team into some really strong placements. So the teams that ended up on the lower half of that leaderboard, they know what they need to work on to improve their gameplay when they get into the following matches.
Oh, that's amazing. Now, guys, this is still the Umzansi Esports League Season 3 brought to you by Nordwind Gaming. I'm Dr. Sid here with DK and Pachi, and we just had our first game in the PUBG Mobile tournament on Erangel. We'll be going on a quick break, and when we come back, we'll be taking you into our second match, which will be on Sandhawk. See you after the break.
All right, welcome back. We are going to head into the second game of today's events. That, of course, going to be on the map Sanhok for the time being. You're joined by myself, Patchy, and, of course, DK, who's not on that side, is on that side. And, well, we just saw a very interesting game there where we saw some names that perhaps a little bit unexpected. So, yeah, what can you say about that game, DK?
Well, it was definitely interesting. I mean, I'm not going to lie. It was an interesting play of how the teams moved about. But I wasn't expecting it much different, though, to be honest, because we are still seeing the teams getting used to each other, getting used to where the opposing teams drop. Yes, we've seen them in previous seasons, but of course now we've got some fresh blood in the mix. We've got a little bit of a shuffle coming in as well. So yeah, I definitely expect a little bit of a continuation of this as we make our way through our games today. But I really think as we progress on through, things are going to become a little bit more stable.
Wow, ladies and gentlemen, that was awesome. We do have some updates on the stats and the leaderboard. Let's take a look at where our teams line up on the overall leaderboard after this first game.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting one to see once all of these games are done. But of course, for the time being, Undisputed AE, obviously you're going to be still sitting at the top. We're not going to see a huge change to the top of this leaderboard until, the end, potentially the end of this evening's games. And that's only if we do see some big plays coming out from one of the teams here. So far, of course, we've only had one game, so we still have lots of potential for the teams to make it up into there. But at the moment, Undisputed AE, Zero Tolerance, Skills, and Immortals going to be the top three teams, followed by G3 Temper, Sincerity Esports, Not Gaming, Spaza 6, and Influence Rage Africa sitting down there in 8th.
And then, of course, as we move over to our second page, there we've got the players from Black Clovers over in 9th, Rain from Hell in 10th, BBC in 11th. We got the players there from Rainbow 6, Madagascar over in 12th place, the Natural Killers in 13th, the Young Thundercats over in 14th place, the players there from Pain Africa in 15th, and then, of course, we see Aphelion Apex, always struggle with that name, in 16th place.
Yeah, and moving on into 17th place, we've got Fear. In 18th, we've got Gamers United Nations. 19th place, we've got Ultra 6. 20th, Slime 4KT. And 21, we've got the Drogons. 22, the Comfy Cartel. 23, we've got Citizens. 24, we've got Lag. And of course, these positions are still going to be changing quite a bit, especially because we're so early on in the season. Those positions are definitely going to be changing quite a lot because, as the teams get more points, they're going to be moving around right now. I mean, they're separated by like 2 or 3 points. It's not that much.
And of course, as we now look at our lower end of that leaderboard, we can see the players there from the Outsiders Officials over in 25th place, the Euphoric Gods over in 26th place, Blank Legion in 27th, NFxUNIQUE over in 28th, the players there from Toxic over in 29th. And then, of course, we see the players from Nibble over in the 30th. So I got to say, this leaderboard doesn't really look like what I was expecting to see, but it's still quite interesting, and I'm expecting quite a few changes still.
Yeah, and I'm super excited about what's going to happen. Obviously, a lot of those teams have played 3 games yesterday, and some of the teams that have made it onto the leaderboard today have just played one game. Well, we obviously know that the next map, which Patchy described to me yesterday as being really fast-paced and everybody having to watch your back. DK, I want to take what's your take on the Sanhok map and how different, or what kind of different play styles do teams need to bring into this map?
So as Patchy said yesterday, it is a faster-paced match, and we're seeing a little bit more of aggression coming in from the teams. But with these teams, we've seen in previous seasons, they have the ability to slow it down. They slowed down the Sanhok map so it is not as fast-paced as you would expect. They take the opportunities, they use it to their advantage, place themselves in good positions, and then fight from there. So I'm expecting to see a little bit more of that utilization coming in. The teams taking more control of the flow of the game. And, well, it is Sanhok after all. We're expecting some pretty tough, close quarter combat coming from these teams. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see exactly how they will allow that to happen.
Are there any teams, DK? This one's back to you as well. Are there any teams from your experience that are that really understand the close quarter combat and would have an advantage based on their regular playing style in this next game?
Ooh, that is a difficult question to answer. I'm gonna try. Don't take me on my word for this one, but from what I've seen in past games, all right, I'm speaking under correction, but I think this might be a game where we could see the natural killers stepping up. I'm also still kind of hoping that Gun steps up in this one as well. You know, we know they've got the gun skill, we know they've got the ability. Expecting them to show it. This is kind of the map that lends itself to that aggression, but also got to say, I'm expecting the players from the outsiders as well to step on up. Just because we've seen the aggression come in from their side in past matches. So that is what I'm hoping to see.
So I personally noticed that some teams need to be. I personally sometimes the players are a bit too cautious. You know, I'm a very aggressive player. I mean, I play more of a different style, but I feel like people need to be more aggressive. Now, the planes in the air, we are flying over Sandhawk. I'm going to sign out and leave you guys watching right now on all our streaming platforms in the very capable hands of DK and Patchy as they talk you through Game 2 of the Umzansi Esports League Season 3 PUBG Mobile. Take it away, guys.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Sid. Once again, now moving in to Sandhawk, I definitely agree with Dr. Sid's what he just said about this. I definitely think some teams are a little bit too cautious. Let's get some aggression up in here, and I think also what you said there, DK, definitely is very much a part of this map. The ability to control the flow and the pace of the game is super, super crucial. And one of the things that I've noticed about Sandhawk specifically, and at least this is historically speaking, is that a lot of teams that we don't expect to step up can step up here on this map in particular. You know, if we have staple teams, for instance, on Erangel and Miramar, those teams are generally not the teams that step it up on Sandhawk. So it's going to be an interesting one to see which team takes it here.
Yeah, because I mean, Miramar, Erangel, that's kind of like the home ground territory, you know? We don't often see the teams playing on Sandhawk, and that is, of course, where they have that opportunity to step into the limelight, show us the aggression they possess, show us those gun skills, those strats that they can execute, and, of course, just snake their way around and, you know, creep up on the opponent. So, yeah, I'm quite curious to see exactly how the teams will be executing exactly that. But now, jumping over in towards Paradise, things already looking a little bit cramped up here.
Yeah, I mean, that is the name of the game. Yeah, cramped up is definitely what we're going to be seeing a lot of the time around these parts. What I'm interested to see is if anyone actually brings maybe a different style to the map. You know, one of the things that we've seen a couple of times is a lot of teams, or not a lot of teams, but a couple of teams do try every now and then. They try and do something different, like get into a boat, try that BBC style rotation all the way out into the sea, move around, take a long rotation up to the north of the map, try and, you know, take some teams by surprise from behind or something like that. It's always interesting to see the different things that teams do try to shake things up a little bit. Am I expecting that to happen here? Not really, because as you said, we are still in the early stages of the season where the teams are still getting a feel for the play styles of all the teams that they're going to be facing. And of course, getting into their own style as well, because, you know, regardless of whether these teams face each other on different battlefields, different tournaments, or whatever, you know, Umzansi is definitely a pace and a game inside of itself. You know, it's got its own ecosystem, and you know, you have to sort of get into the groove. You have to get into a style here in the season as it progresses. So that's what I'm expecting these teams to start doing. You know, start finding their play style, start finding how they want to play, and get a feel for what's going on here. And that's when we'll start to see the strategies come into play, and maybe a little bit of a couple of different strategies coming through as well.
And that is obviously something that we see changing from season to season as the players' play styles also develop.
Yeah.
You know, so it makes sense that the teams are trying to just get a lay of the land, just trying to assess where the opposing teams are at and how they could best possibly counter those maneuvers or those plays, or even the, you know, the strategies coming in from the team. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to watch these teams as they evolve and progress through the series, where they'll eventually find themselves, because looking at the zone, a very decent spread coming out from all the teams. So I'm quite curious to see how they're going to try and rotate up in towards those later phases. Because at the time, everyone is still pretty scattered about. We're not seeing a lot of aggression, not a lot of hot drops coming in from this. But that, of course, will change as the zone starts closing in on itself and the teams and players are running out of space. So it's going to be interesting, definitely, to see where those engagements will be coming from.
Yeah. One of the things we see, specifically in this map, we were talking about how you have to control the flow and the pace of the game. One of the things we see very often in this and is right in the beginning, the teams don't want to engage. They want to try and wait out as long as possible because the early game is pretty much the only time that the teams do have to slow things down, because once things get going, it really becomes difficult to slow things down again. Of course, now we're actually seeing natural killers going in for a few shots and a few knocks there, which is really great to see. But I was actually going to ask you, what do you think is a really good way to still control the pace of the game and slow things down while still being, in the position to pick up some kills?
It's pretty much kind of what we see coming in here from the natural killers. They come in, take a few shots, disengage. They don't seem desperate for kills. They come in, and it's more like warning shots. They're giving the guys the guys just that warning shot. Just say, remember, there's other teams here as well. We have our eye on you. If we find an opening, we are going to take it, but we're not going to necessarily be rushing up onto you just yet. Possibly in the later phases, but not in phase 1. We don't want to be the first team to get sent back into the lobby. And they're coming in with a really calculated approach into this fight, onto the side here of Nibble. As you can see, natural killers just hanging about over in that northeastern side. And they are very selective with their engagement.
Yeah. I actually really, really like the way they play this one. Like you said, a little bit of a shot, a bit of disengage, and then right back into it. And that's actually allowed them to play around their advantage. If Nibble had actually rushed out of that house, they would have been instantly destroyed because they would have exposed themselves. So Natural Killers really had them on the ropes, had them in a perfect spot. And they just played slow, played safe, utilized their advantage, and one by one just took out those players, got those kills. And now they're in a really great position. Got some knocks, got some extra loot, and they're no worse for wear, really. They've only lost one player, so they're still 3 players strong, and they have a little bit of space to work with as well.
Yeah, they did lose a player in the exchange, right? So that is unfortunate, but it was so pleasing to see how they come in, they put in those shots, just caused a bit of a disruption into the side there of Nibble. Nibble then decided, maybe we should go out and try and see if we can find them. And that was the turning point. Right there was when the player from the Natural Killers were able to strike and find the finishing hits into the side of Nibble. But what I'm curious to see now is, are they going to try and apply that same strategy on some of the other teams as they progress through this phase?
We're about to have a look as Nova getting hit by some flying shots in his direction. Roshi trying to return the favor as Neon just right up here towards the window, keeping an eye out on the Natural Killers advance and just stopping them in their tracks for the time being. Luckily, there are some rocks and trees for cover, but yeah, it's a little bit of a difficult road ahead if they want to rotate, because they are definitely being watched like a hawk by the team sitting here up in towards the house. Definitely have their crosshairs trained, and Neon just putting those shots in. Nero in the meantime as well, putting the hits in towards Toxic. So there are some shots being exchanged, and I do expect the pace to get picked up just a little bit as the zone does slowly start to encroach.
But once again, now we see a more of a calculated play coming in from the side there of Rain. But also, Natural Killers, they were going on a bit of an exploratory mission there. They were moving about trying to see if they can find any teams. They did run into the side of the players there from Rain from Hell. They did lose Nova in the process. But how they've been able to come back from that, just spreading themselves out, making themselves difficult targets to hit. It could be something that could be really beneficial for them as we, of course, continue through the phase and make our way into the following ones. But also liking the play that we see there from Rain from Hell. They're not, again, not too aggressive, just hanging back. And this is where that point comes in where I said the teams are able to control the flow of this game.
Yeah, definitely is a huge part of trying to get yourself, get your foot in the door, get those points for the team. You have to be able to, talking about control the flow, you've got to control the map as well. And speaking of, there it is, Roshi going to get downed as he tries to escape that watchful eye that I was talking about, now coming back to bite them as they try and pull away. And the shots in the kill feed as well going ham, as a lot of the teams are now under siege. The shots are flying here and there as the teams do start to move on in and start to take control of the map for themselves, get themselves into a good position. Right here you can see the Drogons moving on in, taking up those positions as they want, and not really anyone to stand in their way at this point. They're just going to pick up the thirst there onto Sinister and take control of this compound.
Again, a very calculated play coming in there from them. However, the side of Toxic, it is looking quite tough. And also now the players there from the Euphoric Gons feeling that pressure come into the side of them as Spain gets a little bit of a return of the favor there that we saw in the previous match. So nice comeback there from them. But of course, Gun positioned up in the northern side here of Quarry. In fact, that is more the western side. This is also an interesting compound for them to be in, and a nice high ground advantage just up ahead. We can see Plaza now just creeping up into that position, and if he is able to move in there and they are able to secure that position, they can actually cause quite a bit of damage from that angle.
Oh, and look at this. Right now, as you can see on the map, there's so many teams down in towards the southern half of the map, which means that if the zone decides to move northwards again, it is going to be an absolute rush from the south to try and get up into that zone. Or alternatively, if the zone goes south, we could see quite a clustering happening down there, and really close quarters, even more so than usual, maybe speed things up just a little bit. So going to keep an eye on that to see what happens down there as the teams start to move on in bit by bit, taking control of the compounds, getting themselves a little bit of space. And this is where they can pretty much start to delay the game just a little bit more for now. Because once we start to head in between, from three zones deep to 4, from then on out, I think it becomes very, very difficult to slow the game down. So for the time being, the teams will just be taking their time scouting out the surrounding area. They've got full control of the premises that they've decided to move into, and now they're just waiting until the zone decides their fate.
Yeah, they're trying to play off that positioning, and of course hoping that we see other teams possibly venture into those positions where they find themselves. So it's going to be interesting as the zone, of course, starts progressing onwards, and still sitting on 14 teams, 48 players alive. That's still some really high numbers that we've got, but of course that number will start dropping considerably once these teams get about, I'm assuming, around about the 4th phase.
Yeah, things definitely do start to heat up around then as we, 4th phase to 5th phase starts moving mid to late game. So that is definitely where things start to pick up the pace, and you can see that things are moving in that direction as we would expect. And just as we would expect of Sandhawk, once you step over that line, once the tension snaps, we just head on into absolute chaos. So we're just waiting for that to happen. It is on the horizon. We've just got to get there. We've got to make the move up into that position. So we're waiting for the time being. The teams aren't just biding their time, preparing themselves for what will certainly be quite a lot of chaos, because, right now we're sitting 14 teams, 48 players. And, we know that the zone does start to get smaller and smaller and smaller as we move in towards the mid game. So we're going to start running out of space. We're going to start running out of time, and things are going to be very difficult. Now we've got True moving up the side of the hill in it towards a gun. So they are being pushed just a little bit, but they are sitting in the bushes there, doing a little bit of camouflage and hoping that they don't get seen snaking through the grass and putting those shots in. True absolutely unaware of Pounds, who's going to be putting the hurt in towards him, making him hit the deck. And now he has to call out the positioning, absolutely surprised by Gun, who is just sitting in the grass waiting for their moment to strike. Like a venomous snake, he has to retreat from the threat that is Gun. Hopefully he can get away before they get that thirst in. They're certainly looking for it, but he has just managed to sneak behind that rock. The rest of the team now has to come and potentially help him. And, that is going to be the name of the rest of the game as things are going to start heating up. Now you can see the teams moving in just a little bit closer. Thundercats moving up, trying to put some shots in to the team right across from them in the opposite compound.
It's a really good position we see there from Gun. And, for the players here from Comfy Cartel to try and rotate in towards Quarry. Quarry is a really tough position to get out of. It's easy to get in, but you need to start thinking of that exit strat as well. How that zone is going to move up, how you're going to try and find a way out of that, especially with gun perched up where they are. It's going to be so difficult for them. But of course now Tigris quickly putting that QBZ to good use, or rather QBU, sending it straight across over onto the side there of the Young Thundercats. So two teams fighting down right on the edge of the bowl there. But I really like that approach that we saw from Gun, just holding that angle, applying a little bit of pressure, but now they're starting to disengage, rotating up a little bit further up in towards the north. We did see that zone also heading up in the exact same direction. So it's going to be interesting to see how the teams are going to try and play this coming phase, as the Young Thundercats, they seem a little bit reluctant to rotate out of their position just yet.
Yeah, not willing to give away their positioning to try and get those kills. Not willing to risk it for the biscuit just yet. Now, of course, 4KT putting the shots in towards a gun as the Young Thundercats start to move on up. That zone has gotten a little bit smaller and has moved up towards the north. Most of the teams down in the south still going to be in the zone, though, so they're going to be quite happy with that for the time being. But that is not going to last very much longer. So they are definitely going to have to start fighting for those spots. You can see 4KT moving on up as well. Looking in the surrounding area for any of those potential engagements. Things are definitely about to start heating up really big time, because you can see the smoke's going down. The teams are preparing to move, preparing to siege, preparing to push. Especially Gun now, they're in a bit of a difficult position. Anywhere they move would expose them, so they have to be really precise about where and when they move. In the meantime, Ami going to be putting the shots in. Citizens looking for the kills. Can they find a second? There it comes. Does get two, but it gets taken down immediately in the trade. The thirst comes through as well. That's going to be a bit of a difficult one for them, the Citizens losing that player. Now, of course, we're going to be moving on into the rest of the battles. Here's 4KT putting the shots in towards Gun, and they are just getting hammered at the moment from all sides.
It's really tough, but of course that is expected. We were expecting the teams to start clashing as we move up from our third phase into the fourth one. 4KT now sitting on that one kill. Only a three-man team making it into this match. But of course you can see that kill feed now really starting to light up between Pain and the Young Thundercats. And there we go. Beautiful plays coming in there from them. Pain still has one player remaining. El Chapo now trying to push on in, trying to find that angle in behind them. But of course, some of the players here from the Young Thundercats are fairly low on health. As you can see, Illusion not looking too great. But here we go. He is getting ready to rush on in. He's got a little bit of support just up on the ridge. But now, Superior is the last remaining player there for the squad of Young Thundercats. I'm pretty sure that Illusion is going to get taken out. So many hits. Now finding its way across over towards him. But here we go. Sincerity now also on the roll, trying to get in on a bit of a third party down below. Oh, down goes El Chapo. So, of course, we are now sitting on 13 teams as we see the players there from Pain getting eliminated.
Yeah, absolutely. We're having a look at seeing all of the craziness start to explode over here, and definitely it is only going to get more and more difficult as the time progresses. You can see that third zone about to close on up, moving in towards the fourth, and there it is. And, well, things are going to become even more difficult from this point on. This is the moment of no return. We're going to be crossing that that bridge, moving on into the next phase of the game zone up in towards the northwest, and not really many teams taking up any pole positions inside there, so it's a little bit of a free space for any of these teams to move up into. But you'll notice there are still 13 teams left, 37 players left alive, which means it is going to be an absolute crowd moving on up into that zone. They're going to have to fight it out for those spaces, and not everyone is going to make it, and that's what we want to see.
Yeah, 100% agree with you on that one. But what's going to be interesting is to see how many of those compounds that we see in zone these teams are actually going to try and push into, because that is going to be some of that prime real estate for the teams to take occupation of. We of course have the players here from the Drogons and the players there from Lag still positioned up in towards Paradise. So only two teams this far up in towards the northeastern side. The rest of the teams, as you've mentioned, all positioned down in towards the south. And Citizens now trying to get their rotation sorted, trying to push into the zone, managing it to just slip undetected. I almost said undisturbed. but undetected right there under the nose of some of the teams. But here we go now. Ooh, the players here from NFxUNIQUE running into a bit of a wall as they find the side of the Outsiders. But of course, Outsiders, they are going to try and hold on to that compound as long as they can. Terry now trying to find the hits, but he's getting rushed. The shots come in and down they go. NFxUNIQUE getting sent right back into the lobby. And of course, now only 12 teams remain.
Oh man, NFxUNIQUE running into a wall in the form of the Outsiders and running into an actual physical wall, that being the outside of the house. So definitely being stuck in a very difficult position there. And unfortunately, they do get taken out. The Outsiders going to pick up those kills. In the meantime, team's going to be moving in it down here from the top of the hill. Just slowly moving their way up into that zone, trying to get themselves across the line. In the meantime, the Drogons are already putting the shots in towards Toxic. 4KT feeling the heat, as well as Rogue putting those shots across. So 4KT got to watch themselves as the siege is now coming through. Are they going to be able to repel the attack? You can see some nades going in their direction. Some mollies being utilized as well. Nothing up here on the side of the house, trying to find some shots into a couple of different teams here. Laying siege to 4KT and to some teams off into the distance here. Some more nades being used. And man, these guys are just not giving up right now. And we're going to find some shots as well. So the retaliation does come through. But will they be successful in repelling this attack? Aimer has to find the shots. Is he going to be true to his name? Fex going to heal up just a little bit. Rogue does get taken down as well. So Aimer is going to aim true this time around for the time being. 4KT trying to repel the attack from all sides at the moment as that zone just ahead of them. The blue zone is going to start being quite a problem.
Yeah, it's going to be a big problem for these teams. But I'm really liking the play that we see coming in from the side there of Sincerity. Really strong performance for them across the board so far. But now we can see them moving up, trying to push further in towards that zone. But they have to try and get past the players here from 4KT. We've got the players there from the Outsiders, of course, just up ahead of them, adding that extra level of complexity, that extra hurdle for them to try and cross over. But of course, also just on the side there, we've got the players from Rain from Hell. So many teams all just sitting in the southern part of the zone. We're going to be seeing quite a bit of chaos and quite a bit of a bloodshed coming in from this region.
Yeah, we certainly will. And of course, you know, we're 5 zones deep now. You can see we've got 300 meters across. That is absolutely no space for these 9 teams and 27 players to try and squeeze themselves into. You can see there are 3 teams located towards the south of the zone at the moment. 4KT being one of those. You can see moving up into that zone. Tigress getting taken out. Broly feeling the heat at the moment as Muffin gets taken down by 4KT as well. Sincerity feeling the pain as 4KT are just repelling them from trying to move across that line. The shots coming through, trying to put the shots in as well as the rest of the squad. Their Citizens feeling the heat as well as the shots coming in to them. Sincerity just not able to cross that line at the moment. They are finding themselves stuck between a rock and a hard place when it comes to crossing over that line. 4KT just making it absolutely impossible. They are trying to retaliate though. Silent putting the shots in is going to make 4KT pay their dues. And now Aimer left trying to out heal the blue zone. Definitely not a spot that you want to be in at all, because I mean, you're fighting the blue zone, you're fighting the teams, and now you also have to make the rotate up into zone. That's just impossible.
And of course, I mean, we're expecting to see those hill strats come in. That is kind of part of what we have on Sanhok. It's a little bit early, 6th phase. There's still a few more phases to go and a few more minutes remaining on the clock, unless they've got a humongous stockpile of meds. I don't think they're going to be able to survive all the way in that blue. But of course, now beautiful setup coming in here from Rain from Hell. They also still have to try and push into the zone, but now they are still just waiting to see if they can find any of those angles, as we saw now the players there from 4KT ending the play for Sincerity. We are sitting on our final 6 teams. Really tiny zone, but really challenging terrain for these teams to fight in.
Yeah, it certainly is. At least there's a little bit of cover to play around for the moment. Shylock going to be putting the shots in as they do move in to cross that line. You can see they are going to be able to make it up into the zone just barely. But things are not going to be looking easy for a lot of these other teams. You can see Lag trying to move on across that blue zone right on their heels, pushing up. The shots coming through as well. There's just absolute chaos as these teams are trying to stay alive. But can they do it is the question. The answer is about to be revealed. 5 teams remaining as the shots are are absolutely flying all over the show. But there it is, sealing the deal. Citizens getting sent out. Lag taking the heat as well. 4 teams remaining. The shots are flying all over the place, but one team above all has control of the zone for the time being. And with that shift, they might actually be in pole position to take the win on this one. It is going to be really difficult to challenge them there, as they are right inside that zone, that of course being the outsiders.
Man, the outsiders have been playing an absolutely phenomenal game this round with their positioning, managing to find really good positionings in that zone, as well as 9 kills. Moving into the 7th phase, 9 kills. There's a potential 4 for them still to try and bring in as we move up to this fight between the Drogons and the outsiders. So things are going to get tough, but I have to say though, the outsiders, they've got the zone in their favor. The players here from the Drogons, they need to try and push across, trying to gain entry into the zone. And of course, the outsiders are making it so difficult for them to accomplish just that. But they've got Dan, the man, on their side. So expecting a strong play from Dan. Oh, not if he gets shot like that.
Cast a curse, DK. Cast a curse. You've just placed them in the bottom of the barrel, and the outsiders have all but basically won this game at this point. They have the control. They've got this positioning. Everything is looking in their favor. I mean, this is their game to lose at this point. The outsiders have the perfect position. The zone is in their favor. The angles are in their favor. The numbers are in their favor. Jeff's about to hit the deck. The blue zone is taking all of their HP away, and it looks like this might just be the end here for the Drogons. And indeed, that grenade is basically going to seal the deal. There, 1 player left remaining, trying to make a dash for it. The outside is just teasing at this point, ready to take that chicken. They can smell that chicken dinner waiting for them.
I mean, and Nero now just trying to out-heal that blue zone. Here is that heal strat that we've been talking about. But I don't think that we're going to realistically see Nero being able to pull that one off, of course, as he signs off with some greeting shots right there. And of course, well, there we go. The outsiders coming in with a really strong performance now, finishing off on 12 kills. And that chicken dinner, what a way to get into our second match. And of course, the Dragons also still playing a really good game, coming in second there with 6 kills.
Yeah, and then the Citizens finding that 3rd place with, of course, 4 kills. So, yeah, an interesting game, certainly a little bit telegraphed in terms of Sandhawk games, but certainly towards the end there, outsiders just playing that positioning game really well, making sure that they were in the right spot, and then the zone rotation just got them in the right place. They were able to utilize their position, and from there it was basically done and dusted. So, yeah, a good game, and it was good to see the outsiders taking that one.
And it was pretty standard procedure with regards to Sandhawk. You know, nothing really out of the ordinary. We had a nice, easy flight path to start off with. And then, of course, easy shifts coming in there from the zone. So I really like that, because the game really gave the teams the opportunity to go out, start exploring, start turning up the aggression, and start looking for those points. So I'm really happy with how that zone went.
Yeah, definitely gave a lot of opportunity for some of the teams there. There was some good cover to be utilized pretty much all across the board, and just that final zone rotation just giving the outsiders that little extra advantage that they needed to take that win. So of course, heading into the standings for that match, the outsiders of course coming in that #1 position with the 15 placements and the 12 kills, giving them that 27. Drogons in second with the 12 placements and the 6 kills, giving them 18, and the Citizens coming in 3rd place with 10 placement points, the 4 kills, giving them a total of 14 points.
It was a good performance there from them. I mean, of course, now looking at Rain from Hell, they finished in 4th place, 6 placement points, but they were able to bring in 7 kills, bringing them up to 13 points. And of course, just putting them 1 above the players there from Lag Esports. So we had finishing up in 5th place with 8 placement points and 13 points as well in total, but only 5 kills. Over in 6th place, we got the players there from Pain on 7 points. That, of course, all coming from the kills that they were able to bring in. Slime 4KT, 7th place, also 7 points. But fortunately, they had a few placement points to help them get there. And, of course, the Natural Killers then finding themselves over in 8th place with 5 points.
Yeah. Heading into the second page, right at the top there in 9th place, got Sincerity Esports with the 5, and then with 2 points each in consecutive order, it's Gun Young Thundercats, the Comfy Cartel in 10, 11, and 12. Down in 13, we've got Euphoric Gods with 1, Nibble in 14 with 1, as well as Toxic Esport down in 15 with 1, and NFxUNIQUE coming in with 0 in the last position for that game. So there you have it, the standings, of course, coming in for that one. And the interesting thing now is to start thinking about that third game, which is, of course, upcoming. You know, are they going to be able to make much of a dent? Is another team going to be stepping it up? Because right now, they've got quite a challenge in terms of Undisputed AE, who are sitting at the top at the moment from the previous game. We're about to head into the third game of the day, and you know, they might just be unchallenged so far, which maybe means that UAE are in a bit of a strong position. In any case, we are going to head to a short break before we head into that third game, so don't go anywhere. We will be right back.
Welcome back, everybody. This is still the Umzansi Esports League Season 3 brought to you by Nordwing Gaming. I'm still Dr. Sid here with DK and Patchy, and we just witnessed a brilliant, amazing game in our second match of the PUBG Mobile tournament on Sandhawk. Before we move any further, I want to give a big shout out to everyone watching right now and tell you that if you are not already, you need to follow Nordwing Gaming Africa on all our socials to stay up to date on all the action and information that comes from the Umzansi Esports League and everything else that we do right here at Nordwing Gaming. Now, we just had an amazing game, and it's about time for us to take a look at the updated standings of the last match.
Yeah, so let's get into that. Of course, you can see sitting right at the top is Outsiders Official with those 27 points, followed by the Drogons with 18. And then, of course, in third place, we have Citizens Gaming, 14 points. Sid is going to be super happy about that one. Rain from Hell there in fourth place with 13 points, followed with Lag Esports in 5 with 13 points as well. We've got Pain Africa in a 6th position with 7 points, as well as 4KT with 7 points in 7th position. And then at the bottom, we've got 8th position there, Natural Killers with 5 points. And yeah, that is quite telling, I think, especially compared to the overall standings.
And of course, as we look at the second page, I mean, you can just hear, like Sid, you are probably pretty satisfied with your boys finishing up there in third place.
What I actually noticed is there seems to be a flip, because in the other matches it was very dominated by a lot of the teams from South Africa. But in this particular map, we're seeing a lot of the guys from West Africa, from Somalia, from Mauritius as well, dominating. It was a highly Nigerian-dominated field with people from Ghana, with 4KT from Ghana as well. So I'm super excited to see that the esports in Africa is mixing it up, and I want to see where all the different flags end up on the overall leaderboard, because that will be so interesting to see a very colorful leaderboard representing the diversity that we have in Africa and showing that it extends also to esports and gaming. Now, guys, you guys have done an amazing job, obviously giving us the blow-by-blow accounts of what's happening in 2 games. We're down to the last game of the night. What do we expect on Miramar? Patchy?
Well, I mean, it's the same story as yesterday, really. You know, we've got Miramar. It's a little bit of a larger map. We've got the longer distances, but we've also got those lovely hills and mountains that lend themselves to those long-range engagements that we've heard time and time again. Some teams really just enjoy that. They really like the long-range engagements. Yesterday, I called out Tempa. I knew they were going to be at least showing us something on Miramar. It seems to be the place where they usually show up, and indeed, they gave us quite a match, and they ended it off quite spectacularly. If you missed that out, definitely go check out yesterday's games, the first games of the Umzansi Esports League Season 3. Definitely go check those out. But this time around, it is a little bit of a different story, I think, in terms of being able to call it out as easily, because I don't know if any one of these teams is going to really dominate in terms of this particular map. Maybe we'll see Gun come to the front. I would like to see them show up, especially because they are a team that I have seen do some incredible work before. You know, definitely a team that will forever stick in my memory as one of the teams that can really come back from a difficult situation. So, you know, I really want to see them show up here today. And of course, this being the last chance for this evening for them to do that. But I mean, the same could be said for a lot of these teams, 4KT, Natural Killers. You know, all of them have the potential to step it up here. So I really, really think this could be a map that we're going to see some really interesting engagements on, because there's a lot to prove here for the final game of the evening.
Just very quickly, I want to remind everyone, the viewers watching at home and the players who may have forgotten exactly what the prize pool is and what everybody is fighting for. It is $15,000 up for grabs at the Umzansi Esports League. This is Season 3, $17,500 over, $2,500 for FIFA, and $15,000 for these guys competing right now in PUBG Mobile. It is super important that they bring their A game. And DK, if you were one of these teams right now who need to step up into the top half of the leaderboard, what would your advice be? To go for placements, or to go for kills, or to find the right balance of both, DK?
I would say positioning. So Miramar is a fairly big map, right? Square-wise, it's the same size as Erangel, but there's a lot more terrain advantages in Miramar. So if the teams are able to capitalize on that, find themselves in strong positions, that would really greatly assist in catapulting them up that leaderboard.
Wow. So, I always think that Miramar reminds me of Afghanistan, and the plane is ready up in the air, and we're about to go straight back into the action in the third game of the night at the Umzansi Esports League Season 3, brought to you by Northern Gaming. Ladies and gentlemen, I leave you in the very capable hands of the most talented DK and the amazing Patchy. See you.
Thanks very much, Dr. Sid, once again. Heading into the final game of the evening, Game 3 of the Umzansi Esports League, Season 3 of tonight. It is going to be Miramar, where we find ourselves at the end of the evening's games. The team's going to be dropping down onto the map. We've got a very western slanted zone at the moment, so team's going to be finding themselves on that particular portion of the map. And very, very interesting, the thing I'm noticing about the drops right now, look at what we've got all the way down in the southern island. We generally don't see drops here, DK.
We definitely don't, but of course, big ups there for Sincerity pushing
That's
straight
patchy
down
points right there.
into that region. Yeah. But of course, now with that zone coming in as well, popping off over towards that southwestern side, this is where things are going to get interesting, because we've got so many teams dropping over towards the west. They all now need to try and find a decent position over towards the east. And I mean, it is Miramar. It is going to be potentially a slightly longer game. It could be. But of course, once again, it is in the control of the teams. If they decide to speed it up and turn up the aggression, they are obviously capable of doing that. So it's going to be interesting to see how the teams are going to approach this match, how they're going to try and push about, especially with the zone sitting over towards the southeastern side. It really moves into a very interesting region.
Yeah, I mean, centered around Los Leones, they're definitely going to be a point of contention at the very least if it stays inside the zone. We'll have a look and see. For the time being, of course, we'll have a look and watch these teams as they just go through that standard setup process. I don't think we saw any immediate hot drops or anything like that. A couple of shots fired here and there, but ultimately nothing too crazy. We're still sitting with our maximum amount of teams that dropped into this one. So no super early pushes or team wipes, which is good, you know, for one hand, because a lot of these teams have a lot to do here. You know, there's a lot of points up for grabs, a lot of points to be gotten, and a lot of teams need to push themselves up that leaderboard. I mean, what I said earlier, you know, when I was talking about the leaderboard from the previous game in comparison to the overall standings, I mean, right now, Undisputed AE, I think they're sitting at the top of the overall leaderboard with like 60 or so points. And I mean, that's quite a high score so far to actually come and challenge right now. I mean, we're sitting with some teams on maybe 30 points at the moment or so, and that's a pretty decent gap there. So these teams definitely have a lot of work to do, and potentially, you know, a team like, for instance, the Outsiders, who already took the chicken dinner, they have a lot of work to do if they want to try and catch up.
They definitely do. So it's going to be interesting to see how they take on this round. But one thing that I wanted to comment in on was, though, we saw the Citizens rotating in towards the direction there of Puerto. We see the team from Toxic coming in with a very similar idea. So I was expecting both teams to potentially crash in towards Puerto, but it's good to see that the Toxic decided to just keep on going and keep on rotating through. So really good call there for them, but also a really good call there for the Citizens to decide to move in towards Puerto. It's so far away from any of the opposing teams. And of course, we had a quick sneak peek at that map. So many teams positioned up in towards the northwestern region especially. So it's going to be pretty tough fighting in those regions. And a very good call for the teams that have decided to rotate all the way over towards that eastern edge of the zone.
Yeah, having a look at the teams, they still have some space and time to move around, and of course, you know, that first blue zone does take a little while to come through. So they do have time, they do have positioning power here. They can pretty much go wherever they like. You'd see God moving all the way to the north there, lots of space to utilize. We actually see the Outsiders and the Young Thundercats very, very close up towards the north. Some shots coming in from the Outsiders towards Young Thundercat Superior, hitting the deck as he is a little bit away from his own team. So that's a little bit of a difficult position to be stuck in for the time being. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how the rest of the teams respond and move as they do have the time to set up. You know, when you're in a position where the zone and the flight path are a little bit different, you know, for instance, we had the flight path here on the west and then the zone moving into the east. When you're in that bit of a situation, it is sometimes a bit of a better idea to just play a little bit slowly, pull it back, and then just go for the slower setup. Now, of course, the thirst will come through there from Orisa. Some nice shots with that VSS, making sure to pick up the kills. So we are seeing a couple knocks here and there, a couple of kills getting picked up. So, yeah, we do see some fire being exchanged, but no, you know, nothing huge. And that is exactly what I was saying here. You know, sometimes you just have to rein it in a little bit, get yourself in a better position, because of course the entire eastern side of the zone is still free to be moved into. So there is some possible positioning here for the teams if they do decide to move in there.
But this is essentially where the teams need to play into their power as well. If they are good at holding the front line, defending the edge of zone, go for that play. If you are not too comfortable with that, get your butt in zone. You know, try and find a good position, set yourself up for the next phase. Get into a position where you are more comfortable and where you know that is a position that you are more powerful in defending or potentially making a play from that angle. So I'm waiting to see where these teams are going to try and rotate. Of course, now the Outsiders getting themselves mobilized, getting ready to push a little bit further in as we have that blue zone now starting to close on in. And a few teams still positioned on the outskirts of zone. But of course, a nice chunk of teams already moving in and taking up some decent positions in that zone already.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was talking about. You know, there's plenty of space, and yeah, just why not move in there and just get yourself set up, especially considering we are still very much in the early stages of the game. Now we have Hanad moving up, looking for a couple of hot shots. Is he going to find them? No, not just yet, but at least the intention is there to try and find some of those cheeky kills just here and there. And I mean, that really is, that actually affects the game a lot more than people realize. You know, if you are able to take just one player away from a team in the early phases of the game, it becomes such a difficult situation for that team when we reach the late stages. You know, a 3 versus 4 can be game changing, not necessarily decisive. You know, I mean, we have seen, for instance, a 1v3 even, but having the man advantage is actually really, really big, and it can definitely get you a secured victory. So getting those early kills can affect the game in a huge, huge way. So it's good to see that at least there's a little bit of intention here from the teams to try and get some of those cheeky early kills in.
I have to agree with you on that point. I mean, the teams come into the match with the players they have at their disposal. You know, coming in with a specific strategy or a specific plan that they have for this match. And once that player, just one player drops out, they now need to try and reconsider the whole approach and see whether or not their plan that they had coming in will still be a feasible one, or will they have to try and come up with another one right there on the spot.
Well, we'll have to have a look and see. Just, yeah, keep our eyes peeled on what happens here. For the time being, though, of course, the game is just playing out slowly. We have Sincerity now doing a bit of a rotation here across planes. They did drop very interestingly all the way down into the South Islands, which, I mean, we almost never see. So it's really good to actually see some teams utilizing that position, and it is an idea that I have been harping on about for seasons now, where, you know, utilizing some of those, you know, less favorable, quote-unquote, locations could actually, you know, be a bit of a strategy, especially if you know that the rest of the map is contested, or if for instance a drop spot that you want is contested, instead of hot dropping it or trying to find a different spot, maybe try and actually just approach the game from a whole different perspective. Go down into a place that, you know, people wouldn't expect you to drop, get yourself some free space, some extra time. No one's going to be on your back because no one ever drops there. You have time to loot up, get yourself ready, and then yeah, just leave and go somewhere else.
But that is what researching the opponents, that's what makes it so important, because the meta of these teams keeps on changing.
Yeah.
I mean, you might know that a team likes to favor a particular spot, but they can change that at any point. And we've seen so many times the positions that we expect to be hot drops based on what we've been seeing over the you know, previous games and so on. That all changes. We don't necessarily see the teams moving into those hot drops anymore.
Yeah.
So the whole meta of the gameplay has changed up. And of course, if you want to stand a fighting chance, you need to get up to date with that. And the only way of doing that is researching your opponents.
Yeah.
Looking at previous games, looking at where they dropped and how well they were able to rotate from that position. You could then potentially even set them up and, you know, come in with a beautiful ambush on top of that.
Yeah, and I really think that's actually the next stage of evolution in the esports in Africa. You know, it is, we're slowly starting to move where we see a lot of, and I think Sid was actually talking about this earlier, where we see a lot of teams and clans and groups, you know, esports organizations moving in from all across the country and the continent, you know, and that's really cool to see. And the next stage, the next phase in the sort of clans evolution, the organizations evolutions, is that, you know, we start getting more serious about you know, competition of the games. You know, start researching your opponents, start getting those sessions in, you know, start polishing your gameplay, get those strategies on hand, you know, get yourself a playbook, you know, get a strategy, a game plan, you know, have your team organized, have your IGL, you know, have everything structured and ready to go, and really just heighten that competition to the next level. And I think really that is where we're sort of headed at the moment. Of course, on your map for a brief second, you can see that the zone has moved in as we move from zone 2 to 3, and things are starting to close up just a little bit. We're still sitting with 16 teams and 61 players at the moment, so that is still quite a considerable amount of teams, and you see they are definitely moving in bit by bit and slowly encroaching on one another, but it is almost at that point where we start to see those fights breaking out.
I can tell you one thing, that this next phase is going to be so interesting to see where it's going to be going, because if it moves out into the Picado fields or the hills just that further down towards the south there, man, it is going to be such a tough position. In fact, anywhere the zone moves from here, it's going to be really difficult for these teams to find a strong positioning if they are one of the teams that are still to try and rotate into that zone.
Yeah, we're going to have a look and see what's going on. The Drogons just chilling at the moment. Their crosshairs are trained in towards the outsiders. A couple of pot shots coming in from Dan. Not going to find their target though, but at least once again, the intention is there. The intent to kill, to pick up those points. But at some point, it has to transfer from being just an intention, and it has to become reality. You've got to pick up those points, and it has to start soon, because right now we've still got so many teams remaining that if they don't start picking up the kills, if they don't start getting some T-wipes here and there, it is going to be an absolute chaos fest when things get down to the wire, when the space starts to run out. You know, it's going to be difficult. So really want to start seeing a little bit of hunting here. I want to see some teams get in there and really just pick up some kills for themselves, you know.
I could not agree more. I mean, that is what we would like to see as we make our way closer and closer to that mid game and potentially even to the late game. They need to start thinning the herd. Otherwise, it is going to be absolutely damn near impossible for them to find a good position in those late phases. As we can see, that zone now once again shifting up exactly where I'd hoped, down to the south of Picado. This is where things are going to get so tough, and a few teams already taking that initiative, moving into a really strong position within the zone. We see Gun, we see the players there from Pain, we see several other teams already within the zone, and now we look to see whether or not they'll be able to fortify their angles and just pick off any of the opposing teams that are now also still trying to rotate in to find a good position.
Yeah, we'll see if it pays off at the time being. Of course, Nibble trying to put those shots on across, and Lag actually trying to return the favor. Some shots coming in straight from their side as well. 4KT in the meantime actually going to be hitting the deck as well as some shots are flying in their direction. So we are starting to see the fights break out here and there. Those long angles are being utilized at the moment. But I want to see more, man. I want to see more, and I'm really waiting for... you know, we spoke in the previous seasons about that quote-unquote hunted team, and you know that is a mentality that's really interesting to see come out sometimes. Oh, look, Terry going to be flinging himself, so there it is. We've got our fling for the evening. Definitely not enough. We want to see a couple more of those. You know, it's not a proper PUBG session without a couple of those, but at least there's one. Muffin going to be putting those mini 14 shots in across. Nibble still looking for their target on the other side. But yeah, there's no ultimate pressure for the time being. It's just a couple of skirmishes happening here and there, some knocks happening. I want to see some more. Vegeta going to be exploded. Mr. Raji as well, feeling that pain. So at least that's happening. We want to see more, though. I want to see those numbers start to drop, DK.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, you still got 16 teams left, 60 players to spread out throughout the regions here. And of course, we are now in our fourth phase. You can see Nerf keeping a very watchful eye. Oh, laser hits into the side there. Shylock, really, really well placed head. But of course now, are they going to try and capitalize on that? And will they try and find another knock before potentially pushing into zone? Because they need to plan on how they're going to get into the zone. Such a big number of teams, such a high count of players still alive. But of course, that is pretty much the situation across the board. Everyone now needs to come up with a way or approach that will best suit them for pushing in. And this is really where we could see the players from 4KT, from Rain, Nibble, and even the Citizens bringing in a really strong defensive play on their positions.
Yeah, so this is the time when we really start to see those defensive positions being super important. All the teams that have made their way into the zone are going to have the burden on them to try and defend it as those rotations do come through. And this is the best chance to get those kills, the best chance to just rack them up, because the teams are going to be rotating in. They're going to be, you know, without cover. They're going to be on the move. So that's the perfect time to just pick them off, pick up the kills. And, you know, that's what we're really waiting for. At the moment, Gun trying to move over the edge in towards that zone. They have got a couple of obstacles to pass before that. The Drogons, of course, in the compound just ahead of them have to make their way across, putting those shots in Plaza. Going to be the first to hit the deck there, and certainly not the last. We'll see if the Drogons can continue their assault. Gun also going to be under fire. So yeah, the shots are certainly coming through now as those rotations do come through as well, as the zone starts tightening up and things are getting a whole lot more difficult for the teams.
I mean, Browns and Plaza here from Gun. They've tried to move in to set up that anchor point, but unfortunately the players there from Rain from Hell were just up ahead of them. But now the addition of the Dragon team that we see pushing in on that rotation as well. Things are going to be so tough for Gun. Oh, those utilities just getting sent on in. Aimbot taking a little bit of damage, but it is now down to Aimbot and Nerf to make the play here for the Gun side. Are they going to try and fight it out? Or will they find a way to get out of this mess? As you can see, Nerf now also getting knocked out. So now it is down to Aimbot. Will Aimbot be able to hold his own against this relentless wave of players just pushing in on towards him?
Oh, man, it is so tragic to see a player like Nerf getting taken out so quickly like that. Somebody we've seen in the seat time and time again and has given us and delivered us such amazing plays, just getting taken out just like that, just so quickly. And we've got 16 teams remaining. That's definitely not where you want to be going out, but going out is exactly what Gun is doing. They're going to be the first to go out, and certainly not the last 15 teams remaining now. We're certainly going to see those numbers start to drop a whole lot more. Dragons have made their way in it towards the zone, so they've got their position that they've fought for, but will they be able to keep it? There's so many teams up ahead of them, looking in their direction, waiting for them to just peek their head around that corner, peek their head above the cover, just get absolutely taken out by those shots. Long distance, mini 14 coming into play once again. Dan, the man, is going to put those shots on across, and he is going to be deadly.
And of course, well, the Gun team, they're being the team to start that snowball effect of teams heading back into the lobby. Of course, the players there from Toxic being the next team up to do exactly that. we are now down to 14 teams. And of course, things are just going to heat up exponentially from this point. Such a large number of players and a lot of these teams in really close proximity. So firstly, for them to find an angle in towards the zone is going to be especially challenging. But you can see, of course, just up ahead, the players there from the outsiders trying to move up, trying to get into the zone. But they are passing straight through the center of the team there from, I believe that was the rain from hell that we had there. You can see also just off in the distance there, the players from Pain trying to make a push. But of course, the Drogons here making it so difficult for them. And right in front of them, we have the team there from Lag. So it is hurdle upon a hurdle upon a hurdle for these teams to try and jump through and over to make their way into the zone.
Yeah, and as we head into our 20th minute here in this game, we've got 5 zones deep and certainly heading in towards the 6. We got YT. Adonis hitting the deck there. He's going to get taken out as the shots come through now. Nero trying to move on up as the Drogons approach, but are they going to be able to find the shots so far? They're just taking the damage, but can they dish it out? The zone in a very difficult spot. Some nades trying to get tossed, but the blue zone is on their heels, and that is going to be an absolute thorn in their side as they try and play around this very minimal cover that they have, trying to make their way up into that zone. As the blue gets smaller and smaller, everyone is now fighting for those positions. 13 teams left, and we are going to see those numbers dropping super quickly. So many players try and squeeze in to this zone at the moment. We've got Shylock looking out over in the distance, trying to find the rest of the teams crawling up into that location. The Drogons still managing to hang on for the time being, but for how long is the question. We've got the outsiders just next to them as well. These teams just trying to scramble for the cover. The grenades are flying, and so are the shots.
Dragons coming in with a really strong play on the edge of the zone. I honestly thought that they were going to get sent back early on with that rotation, with that bus, of course. Unfortunately, things just worked out a little bit in their favor. But here we go. Pain now. Ooh, coming in with a beautiful play. Quick retaliation onto the side there of Kesh as they find the shots. But of course, now the Dragons also still trying to find their entry point in towards the zone. Dan, the one-man clan, now just left to find it out potentially for the Dragons, as we just saw Jeff getting knocked on out. But here we go. Dan comes in for the res. A few teams, of course, still scattered just up ahead of them. It's going to be a really trying zone. Of course, now we wait to see where the next phase is going to take us, where that next zone is going to be popping on into. And of course, this is where we see the kill feed just absolutely lighting up. It is looking like Christmas. We've gone from 14 teams down to 8 teams in only 2 minutes time. So quite a bit of chaos already now erupting all across the zone, but it is not going to stop anytime soon. 26 players still alive, 8 teams remain. Wow, and the zone just keeps on moving and moving, just making things so challenging for these teams. So I am quite keen to see who's going to be the teams to make it into those late phases.
Yeah, I mean, this is the result of not being able to fetch those early kills. You know, that's just how it goes. If you don't pick out those teams early, it becomes super difficult down in the late game. You just see those numbers dropping bit by bit. With 8 teams and 26 players left at the moment, NFxUNIQUE going to be hopping into those vehicles, getting themselves right over into that zone as the blue is once again making its way on in. They have to be super careful about this though, because so many teams up ahead of them. Any exposure at this point really could mean the end of your team. So you don't want to be the one to go out too soon, and that vehicle's on fire. Oh. Yeah, I was about to say that is not exactly the vehicle that you want to be taking in, and they definitely feel the pain on that one. They just get instantly evaporated right back into the lobby. So goodbye NFxUNIQUE. And now, of course, players are going to be crawling all over the show. The road is not the place to be if you want some cover. Getting shot left, right, and center. 7 teams remaining as Shylock now here on the hill, putting some shots in towards the outsiders as they are pinched in between a number of different teams. Sincerity doing it the same in towards the Citizens. The shots flying across the board from Shylock in towards the outsiders, but he does get taken down, and some third-party shots going to be pushing him back in towards the smoke as he tries to stay alive. But it is going to be super difficult. 6 teams remaining. Those numbers are dropping every single time. You can barely blink and a team will just get sent back. At the moment, 4KT occupying a really good position up on top of this hill. If they can utilize it, they might just find themselves some good kills, but of course they have to stay alive, because if you show your head, you definitely are visible, so it is a bit of a two-way street there.
I have to agree with you on that, but of course now, that only works if you are able to stay in behind that hard cover, as we just saw those shots coming into the side of 4KT. But now the players here from Rain from Hell making their play up in the north. We've got so many players still just scattered along the edges of the zone. 5 teams remain, 13 players still alive. And of course, those numbers are starting to dwindle. But now, of course, we're looking to see also what the players they're from Euphoric Gods will be able to do. They're right there alongside Rain from Hell. We got Silent now firing a shot across the zone over in towards them. The next shift coming in, of course, just moving in to quite a challenging position. This is now where we're going to be seeing the players there from NFxUNIQUE having to start, rather 4KT rotate out of their position up on this hill. The higher ground advantage is not really going to work just yet, but they can try and use this to clear the way before pushing into that zone, as we are now sitting on only 4 teams. You can see Sincerity trying to outrun those bullets at the hand of 4KT. So far, a good approach. And of course, 4KT just trying to capitalize on this high ground advantage as long as they possibly can.
Yeah, 4KT being in that position is absolutely huge for them. It definitely got them quite a good advantage, quite a few kills. But of course, now they do need to make that rotation up. And, you know, of course, you can see there is very, very little space. There's so many players in this position. And God is just going to put those shots in towards 4KT. That's Sunny hitting those shots. They're going to be sitting right inside the zone. Sincerity now sitting here, just putting those shots on across 4KT. Tries to make that rotation. They are trying to put up a fight, but there's so many crosses to contend with, so many players to think about. Look at this, has to use the medikit with the blue zone right on his heels. Such a difficult spot to be in. 4KT just trying to get themselves across that line, but is the fight going to be enough? 3 teams remaining now, 7 players left alive. It's 4KT crawling up in. It's basically just Pronto now that Aimer has been taken out by that blue zone. The shots coming through from Sincerity. They are putting up quite a fight, and they might just be able to take this one. 2 teams remaining here, and they might just be able to win this, considering there's only 1 player standing between them and that crispy chicken dinner.
This is going to be absolutely essential for them, but they've really been showing up in the games here today. Of course, bringing in the chicken dinner, now potentially going for a second one. Muffin now getting hit in the process. It is now up to Respect to make that final play, but they can just sit and wait for 4KT to come to them as that blue zone is closing in. 4KT has no other option. They need to try and push on in. Up comes the hits, and down they go. Sincerity claims the chicken dinner. What a beautiful performance that was coming in from Sincerity. Absolutely amazing stuff. And of course, wrapping up the day there with 12 kills.
Yeah, that is absolutely impressive coming out from Sincerity there, putting themselves right at the top. 12 kills, followed by 4KT in second place with quite a respectable 9 kills coming in there. And of course, Rain there with their own 6 in third place. So yeah, quite an intense game towards the end there.
Yeah, definitely was quite the match to watch. But I mean, beautiful consistency coming in there from Sincerity. They were the highest placing team on the overall standings coming into the match, I believe it was. So it's quite interesting to see what the results will be after this match.
That was amazing. I think Sincerity has definitely put on a show and definitely put themselves in a great position to be topping the leaderboards. I was just blown away by that entire match, and watching it just made me understand that there is a lot of talent and play, and you really can't put your eggs in anybody's basket in these games in the Umzansi Esports League Season 3, because anybody has an opportunity to literally destroy the leaderboard. Now let's take a look at the leaderboard. Sincerity Esports definitely doing it big. Patchy, talk us through this one.
Well, I mean, Sincerity coming in with those 27 points in first place is going to be pretty big, followed closely by Slime4KT. And that is a team that definitely, you know, we expected it to be placing high, and they're still sitting up with the 21 points in second place. Third place, we got Rain from Hell, 16 points. Then NFxUNIQUE down there in fourth place with 13. Euphoric Gods with 8 points in fifth place. Sidizens Gaming with 7 points in sixth place. We've got the Comfy Cartel in 5 points in seventh place. Also with 5 points is the Outsiders official there with 8 points.
I mean, that was a spicy match. And of course, now as we move into the second half of those standings, you can see the Drogons over in 9th place on 4 points. The Natural Killers on 3 points, as well as the team from Pain. They're in 11th place, also on 3. Then, of course, we got the players there from Lag Esports in 12th place on 2. Nibble in 13th on 1. But then a really tough showing there for the side of Young Thundercats, the players there from Toxic, as well as the Gun team.
Yeah, definitely not what I expected coming out from Gun. You know, definitely want to see something coming out from them going forward. So hopefully the next time they hit the battlefield, we see a little bit more coming out of them. But certainly big props to Sincerity for showing up in this one. Definitely put them on the radar for both, I think, for some of us and then for those watching as well. But yeah, definitely a lot of expectations set for some of the other fan favorites.
So that was the leaderboard based on today's gameplay from both the groups D and C. Now let's take a look at how these teams fit on the overall leaderboard.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting right here. Of course, it is Undisputed AE sitting at the top still with the 61 points, but there it is. Sincerity has moved themselves up into second place with 55 points. That is huge right there. That is absolutely phenomenal coming out from them. A very considerable 55 points. And yeah, so right now, I mean, that's quite a big lead. We've got Undisputed AE 61 points. Just below them, the 55 points from Sincerity. And then below that, we've got Rain from Hell in third place with 46 points. We've got fourth place, Zero Tolerance Skills with 45 points. Following closely behind them, the Immortals with 44 points in fifth place. We've got G3 Temper with those 37 points there in sixth place. We've got the Outsiders Official, 34 points, seventh place. And then following closely behind them, Slime4KT with 33 points in eighth place.
I mean, this leaderboard, it's so close. Then, of course, the second half of it, well, the second page, rather, we've got the Drogons sitting in 9th place on a total of 26. The Sidizens in 10th place on a total of 23 points. Then, of course, Pain in 11th on a total of 22. We got Not Gaming also on 22 points, but in 12th place. Then, of course, we got the Natural Killers also coming in on 22, but in 13th. Then we have the players there from Spaza 6 in 14th on 20 points. Influence Rage over in 15th on 18 points. And then, of course, we see the players there from Black Clover coming into 16th on 17 total points.
Yeah, I'm heading into the next page of the leaderboard. Of course, we have at 17th position, it's Lag Esports with 17 points. We've got BBC following in 17 points as well in the 18th position. They're just behind them. We've got Rainbow Six Madagascar 19th position with those 16 points. NFxUNIQUE with 15, as well as Young Thundercats there with 15 points each in 20 and 21 respectively. We've got Ophidian Apex in 22nd position with 12 points. 23rd, we have the Euphoric Gods with 11. And 24th, it's the Comfy Cartel with 10th. So it definitely is quite an interesting leaderboard to see moving into the next page. We've got 10 points each, Fear and Gun sitting in 25th and 26th respectively. 7 points, Ultra 6 in 27th. In 28th, it's Nibble with 2. 29th, Toxic Esports with 2. And 30th, Blank Legion with 2. So like I said, there's a little bit of expectations that we may have had, especially as fans of, for instance, Gun or even Nibble, having seen their performances from previous seasons, you know, expecting a little bit more out of them. So hopefully they can step it up moving forward, but definitely moving to the front of those leaderboards. We're seeing some names hitting the top of those scoreboards, Undisputed AE being one of them. That certainly I did not expect to be topping the charts just yet. I mean, I really did not expect them to be sitting where they are, but they certainly came in very, very heavy yesterday, and they put those points on the board, sitting with 66. I mean, that's huge. That's a lot of points, especially considering that following behind behind them, we've got 55 Sincerity. So already there's a little bit of a gap there. That's an immense amount of points. And yeah, so GG to Sincerity for taking the chicken, and of course for being able to top the leaderboard for tonight's games.
And one of the things I noticed about the leaderboard as well is that even though Sincerity had 2 chicken dinners, and on Undisputed AE had 1 chicken dinner, but those kill points once again show that they're very valuable in climbing up those leaderboards. DK, any closing remarks for everyone at the end of the day?
Just going to say we had an absolutely phenomenal surprise coming in there from Sincerity. They had a really strong first game. Second game didn't really go according to plan, as I think they would have hoped. But, I mean, beautiful comeback in that third game, coming out of nowhere and ending it off really, really strong on the second day.
So, that being said, I want to remind everybody right now that this is the Umzansi Esports League Season 3 brought to you by Northern Gaming. If you aren't already following Northern Gaming Africa on all their socials, please make sure you do so now. And make sure you follow us on all our streaming platforms on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch. It's amazing that you don't want to miss any of the action. Now, that's it for today on day 2 of the Umzansi Esports League Season 3. We will catch you guys tomorrow for day 3, where there will be more action coming from FIFA 21 and PUBG Mobile. My name is Dr. Sid here with DK and Patchy, and I will catch you guys tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your evening.